Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 80. We are back in the basement to talk about another week of wrestling. I am your host, and with me is my co-host and teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
I just realized we're like really close to 100. Well, not like really close, but like pretty close.
Which is pretty crazy.
Well, I got to start thinking of ideas.
For 100th episode
do
celebration of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to do something.
Well, it's been a pretty interesting week in our household this week. Mostly because
fill them in.
that I am suffering mightily and am in constant pain every day, all day right now.
Yep.
So yeah,
Seems like you got like a new sleeping arrangement every day.
I do try. I have not been able to lie down or stand up straight for, I don't know, we're going on 5 days. Some low back pain has exploded into.
Yeah, so you're either sitting or hunchback.
Yeah, some low back pain has exploded into some nerve issues radiating through my hip and leg mostly now, which is numb and on fire at the same time if I stand up or lie down. So this could be an interesting podcast because I'm going off about 4 or 5 nights of sleeping sitting up, i.e. not sleeping. So my levels of exhaustion are extreme. So hopefully I will be coherent throughout this podcast, but I might not make sense at points. We'll see. It could be fun for the listeners to see me completely incoherent, but luckily the chairs that are down here in this studio are actually quite comfortable for me right now, so touch wood, I am pain-free at the moment, but that never lasts long. So I don't know. X-rays came back normal, so that means it's not no slip discs or vertebrae or out of line or anything. So best guess is sciatica, which is nerve pain. Is no joke, people. If that's what this is, and I'm pretty sure it is, I can tell you that nerve pain is something special because I've dealt with some pretty painful sports injuries before, including a ruptured Achilles.
You should have waited till July to do this. That would have been funny, actually.
And I think pound for pound, this might be the most pain I've been in, right? Like I can kind of walk a bit now. It's getting a bit more upright as the days go by. So hopefully just rest, and I'm starting some physiotherapy on Monday that will get me hopefully back to normal.
Cool.
But, cool.
What are you going to do on Tuesday? Because we go
it's a
back
regular
for a
school day.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how I feel by then.
Yeah, I've been pretty much off last few days, so that's fun.
Very thankful we live in Canada for our healthcare being covered, right? Because as I'm making friends with an American right now, Bark, who we're sort of starting a new podcast together.
Plug.
We would have to have insurance if we lived in the States. Otherwise, none of this would be covered. So not only is all of my
it's going to bankrupt you.
Trips to the doctors and all the x-rays are completely free. My physio is also covered through my work. So I am a very lucky person, despite being in some immense pain. Things could be a lot worse. So we're going to try and persevere and get through this podcast as we would any week. So yeah, I don't know. What's new with you? You got some extra days off work because, as we talked about before, they canceled exams for high school students.
Yes, sir.
Due to the stress you guys are under in your lives, I guess.
And so then we were stuck home for those 5 days. So I went to school a total of 2 times.
Right, and then because you were caught up in all of your courses.
Oh, Tuesday was the best. I went to school and I could not have possibly done less. It was even better because you're in pain. So we just played dodgeball the whole time.
And I sat there and tried to not.
That was the only
suffer.
time I was anticipating doing something.
Right. Yeah, so you basically, if you're caught up in your courses, you don't need to go because they set aside 1 day for each of your courses for people to come in and got caught up.
I think Monday is also one, and then Tuesday's normal. And
then Tuesday is a bizarre, even though the semester is done and like final assignments are in and everything, we have to go back on Tuesday for one quote-unquote regular school day.
I don't get it.
We'll see how that goes. But anyways, enough about my exciting life and suffering. You got some snowboarding in yesterday, right?
Yeah.
We're still living off the giant amounts of snow we got a couple weeks ago because it's been cold enough to retain it. Supposed to be like minus 33 here today, your mother was telling me. I have not seen the outside world in... Actually, that's not true. For the x-ray appointments, I was outside sort of hobbling around, walking around like I'm, 85 years old. It's a good time, but... Hopefully signs of progress yesterday seems a bit better, so I'm hoping things continue to improve. Anything else you wanted to banter about before I...
Well, no, we got Royal Rumble tonight, so that's pretty awesome.
We do, so we'll do a little quick preview.
We are going to preview that
later on.
And I feel like I have been looking forward to this for a bit because it's the Royal Rumble. I love
fun,
the Rumble.
Right? Generally, yeah.
Yeah, last year I feel like kind of soured me because... Thunderdome, B, Edge.
Oh God, Thunderdome.
But I think this year we're going back to normal. Edge is not in the Rumble; he's in a pointless mixed tag.
Yep.
And so there's gonna be crown stuff, so that'll be cool. I think we're gonna get nacho stuff.
We are gonna get nacho stuff. Oh, can you text your mother? This is great content, but can you text her to get taco sauce? Because I don't know if I put that on the list.
Alrighty.
But yeah, we're going to do the nacho tradition. It might be your mother making it. I'm going to try because I feel like the more I move around, maybe the more things will loosen up. So I may try to make the nachos tonight if your mom will let me. She's been sort of a single mom of 3 kids at this point, right?
Yeah, you've become one of us.
I have become. I'm more useless than the 2 of you by far at this point.
I am pretty useless, and I take pride in that fact.
Appreciate your honesty. But anyways, I don't know. I figure we could move into talking about some wrestling. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, we'll move into our first segment, which is taking a look at some of the week's wrestling, specifically news and rumors. So taking a look at the week's ratings, as we tend to start out with, Tuesday's live edition of WWE NXT 2.0 drew 593 viewers, up a whopping 1.02%.
Wow.
The smallest of upticks, and earned a 0.14 in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is up a considerable 27.27%. And I thought for a change, we would look back exactly 1 year to the ratings. So NXT viewership from that exactly 1 year ago today is down 17.6%, and the key demographic is down 33.3%. So slightly
it sucks now.
Slightly up from last week, but very much down from the black and gold. They're referring to that era now, right? So
the good times.
I will be talking about NXT again this week. I did watch it, so we'll get to a bit of a review. I didn't hate the show this week, which is nice to say, and about as good a thing as
you should be hating it.
Well, you saw a little bit, right? So
I still hate it.
You do. And then Wednesday's live beach break edition of AEW Dynamite got a nice number
which was very nice.
1.1 million viewers, so up 6.59%. Earned a 0.41 in the key demo, which is down 6.81%. It was their best audience since their September 29th episode, and 1.1 million viewers overall is a pretty good number, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought it was a pretty good show, to be honest.
I quite enjoyed parts of it for sure. What do you have for us?
So another requested WWE release kind of following Ali.
I heard one. I don't know if it's the same one or not.
It's Kendrick.
It was Kendrick, yes.
Yeah, which, I mean, he doesn't really do anything.
But it's interesting then, why does he, you know what I mean? I'd love to know why he wants a release. Because when it's in-ring talent, I understand.
I miss Brian Kendrick. A, he was cool. B, he had a good theme. C, he had cool finishing.
He was the first heel you liked, right? I think
him, and then the Usos were really cool. And then Neville.
When you started to evolve as a wrestling fan and realized heels are cool, or...
Yeah, it was Kendrick, then Neville, then probably Usos. Because 2017 was awesome for those.
Did you hear, not that it's just going back to a previous request for release, that Ali, apparently there was some storyline that Vince wanted him to do that he strongly disagreed with and had issues with?
Shocker.
Leads me to believe it was something like racially stereotypical or something, right? Like what else could it be, or something?
I would definitely not put it past them. That sounds like something they would definitely do.
And I can confidently say, without knowing any details or specifics, I am firmly on Ali's side on that, right? Like,
yeah, I saw a thing he posted. He's like, I do not want to be in the Rumble. I want to be released or whatever.
I'd be really interested to see where he goes and what he does after, because I quite like him.
Used to be on the. I didn't even know him before the Cruiserweight Classic, right? But I think he was indie. I don't see him going to AEW or something, which sucks because I think he's really good, but I don't know.
And he's a good promo. Like, he's underrated in pretty much every aspect,
I think he didn't deliver some solid promos when he was Retribution guy, but that sucked. So.
That's not his, that was what was written for him, right? Apparently, your favorite, Ronda Rousey, is reportedly returning to WWE imminently. Yeah, I saw is the headline I saw.
Yeah, I think Meltzer reported that she signed another 1-year deal, which I think was the thing last time, and she's said she's probably going to return tonight.
Right, so they said as soon as tonight, not necessarily in the Royal Rumble match, but possibly in an angle after the match.
I know what she's going to do. She's going to come after the Rumble and point at the WrestleMania sign. Just point at it.
Just point away. Yep.
That's how she debuted.
It is sign pointing season, so... Has anyone pointed yet?
Is. I don't think
I'm
so.
Not caught up.
The pointing's going to begin, so get your fingers ready, folks. I think she did get good for, especially given her experience.
Yeah,
but
I think so too.
She's no Shayna Baszler.
She did well for what they wanted her to do, and I think she was really effective in the role they put her in. And she was a huge name at the time, right? I don't know if she still is or not.
With Baszler. Although I saw a thing like her main match will not include Charlotte Flair. Yeah, because that's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, I think everyone just assumes whatever the biggest storyline is, they'll just
I
shove
would
Charlotte in
assume
there.
if Becky reigns until Mania, we go with that because we never really got that match. I think because remember it turned into the triple threat with Charlotte,
right?
Because Charlotte, or I would love her versus Baszler.
Yep.
Although Baszler would probably have to do the
Dream
job,
on Baszler in an important match. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
What else do you have for us?
So Big E made an appearance on SmackDown last night, or I think it might have been last week. I don't know. I think it was because King Woods was supposed to return, but he's going to be out for a couple more weeks.
That's what I saw too.
I use the term King very loosely because that means nothing now. It's
nothing.
very apparent. And he's been traded to SmackDown after a tag victory last night alongside Kofi against Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. Personally, he was one of the favorites to win the Rumble for me.
Yep.
But now they've kind of shifted him in this very low spot, just like after like less than a month of losing the title. So
and traded for nothing.
I have no idea.
It's one of those like
just
not
lazy
known
excuses.
It's like baseball. I don't know if other places do it too, but I know baseball does. It's a player to be named later.
Right.
So it's like, and just
I don't know. It just feels like they don't really want to push him a lot anymore.
No.
So I don't.
It's like
I kind of moved him down my picks.
They completed the experiment, and somebody wasn't happy with it, unfortunately.
Which I thought he was doing pretty well, like all things considered.
Considered how they booked him, I thought he was fine too.
Yeah, I mean,
he checks
they didn't
all
give
the
him
boxes.
A lot of time yeah, he's like, look at him, and he's a Vince guy. And the worst they could have done him the decency of dropping the title and having someone else, but they literally had Brock pin him in the 5-way.
Right.
There's like 3 other people not named him that he could pin. Actually, 2. You shouldn't pin Rollins.
I don't know. It just makes me laugh because it's all this talk of like, we have the draft, and that's when everyone changes teams, and then we have Survivor Series, which is the only time.
And Big E was on SmackDown before the draft. So then he just went to Raw, and now he's back on SmackDown because now we get the New Day.
So it's just, I don't know. It's silliness, but that is what's
also
happening.
For me is if Big E's single run went the way it did, which I think he has the best chances of the New Day guys.
Right.
What?
Yeah, I would
what's
say so.
Woods gonna do? Honestly, like they gave him the King in the Ring for what? Just so then he gets something. Like, because I mean, Kofi had a solid run, and then Big E's run was not great, but I think he had the best chances. So like Woods is probably not gonna.
Maybe Vince wants to bring a trios title before AEW does it.
Just to say he did the first.
Yeah, just be like, they're copying us.
I find it
even
hard
though
to
I
believe,
don't acknowledge they exist.
I find it hard to
us.
believe that he has any interest in that kind of title because
he hates
he
tag
doesn't
teams.
like tag team wrestling. Do you think he wants to add 2 more people into those? Like,
exactly. I highly doubt it.
I highly doubt it. I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I don't see many factions other than New Day, Bloodline. That's it.
Pretty much. Speaking of SmackDown, apparently a whole bunch of NXT people were all at last night's SmackDown. I have no idea if they appeared on the show because I don't watch that garbage, but
I don't think they did. I
they
probably
were
would
there.
have seen.
So it was Tommaso Ciampa, Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Roderick Strong, and LA Knight, who I've heard Knight.
Oh, right. I saw that earlier in the week, I think.
I've heard Knight will be gone to main roster sooner than later.
That doesn't surprise me.
He feels very much main roster.
Yeah, I think he'll probably do better there, if anything.
And I won't be sad to see him go, to be honest. It's funny because I used to like him, but now he kind of bugs me.
I thought Eli Drake was great. I loved Eli Drake's theme. I thought it was cool.
But now he kind of annoys me. But anyways, anything else? That is all I have.
Okay, let me look. So WWE management is reportedly high on the Creed brothers,
yes.
Von Stupid Wagner,
of course,
and Zion Quinn, with the Creed brothers seen as potential WrestleMania headliners. That's ridiculous.
And I saw, what was it they were comparing?
They are comparing Julius to Kurt Angle.
Easy now. That's a bit aggressive, but...
How? Help me to understand. How can you be high on Von Wagner in any capacity?
He's big. He's really big.
Okay, but if you're looking at his performance...
and a second-generation talent, which they love.
He?
Yes.
Who's he?
Wasn't he... I could be wrong, but I thought he was Wayne Bloom's kid.
He is Cal Bloom, so...
Yes, so there you go.
Well, he's like, if you're looking at his performance, in what capacity is he? He's awful in the ring. He's worse on the mic.
I don't think he's awful in the ring. I think he's basic in the ring. I would say he's basic. But they're going to just...
paired with Robert Stone. So
they just love his size.
He's so bad. He's the worst. And Zion Quinn's not that interesting. Creed brothers do have potential, but I find it hard to believe they'll separate them. They love those brother teams.
Quinn and Wagner have the look they want, right? They're big and...
they're going to carry them through. But then... if we're going by that logic, what the hell happened with Big E? Big E has the look they want.
And he has charisma.
And he's good.
I know. He has everything. I don't know what their problem is. They're just going to
be stupid,
waste him away sort of thing. Yep. And comparing Julius to Angle is insane just because...
Angle was Angle.
And for me, Julius might get amazing in the ring. They're already pretty good. Obviously, they have that amateur background, but character-wise and on the mic-wise, Kurt Angle is like an all-timer in my book, and Julius has shown zero, not I don't want to say zero ability there, but zero potential to be on Kurt Angle's level in those departments. So I think that's a pretty hasty comparison
if
to
Von
make.
Wagner gets a big push and Big E's title run is just done at that, like Big E gets nothing else, I'm gonna be so pissed because Von Wagner is the epitome of garbage.
I'm not a big fan. I don't think he's garbage, but I don't think he
is wrestling.
He's not
garbage.
not very interesting for sure.
He is bad.
Any other news from you?
Last one was WWE reportedly wants Jeffrey Hardy back.
I did see
They've
that.
made a play to bring him back in the past few weeks. Apparently, like Laurinaitis contacted him with an offer including a Hall of Fame induction.
Ooh.
Like, cool.
Right.
Wasn't someone? Didn't they induct someone weird last year? I feel like, or like, I think because of the Warrior Award or whatever, technically Titus O'Neil is a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So,
of course he is. He did
also,
fall under the ring
so
coming down to the ring, which was amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so is Coco Beware and I think Donald Trump still. So
I heard someone randomly talking about that when Titus fell and saying like, which I never really thought about. Imagine if they had like the hard LED panel sides on the ring or whatever. Like he could have seriously hurt himself.
Oh my
right?
God! Right? Yeah.
Like he got lucky that they were using a ring skirt and he just slid underneath because
they and now what they usually do, I think they used to only have the LED apron on the hard cam, but now they or at least I know they did. I don't know if they still do. They usually have so like. Say you're looking at the hard cam, right? They have the LED apron on the hard cam side and on the entrance stage side, and I think it's ring skirt on the other two sides.
So he would have broken an arm, separated his shoulder, or smashed his head off of it, depending how he went under.
Yeah,
right?
Luckily it was just humorous.
Yeah, it sounds to me like.
And Hardy did turn it down.
Yes, he turned it down. It sounds to me like they're a little bit nervous about Hardy going elsewhere and maybe reuniting with his brother, which I don't.
They already are.
I don't want to see
They're
it.
already in the process of that. I don't think it's anywhere major, but they are. I think they do have some sort of reunion thing.
I don't really want it.
As long as it's not an AEW, I don't care.
Right. Is that it for news for you?
That is it.
All right, so let's transition into talking about some actual wrestling from the week, and we're going to start out taking a look at this week's Beach Break edition of AEW Dynamite.
And so our opener is the ladder match for the TNT Championship, but also the interim TNT Championship. They're the same belt. It's to the same belt, which always makes me laugh.
And the fact that we've kind of thought it was a bit silly that the interim was, what, a 2 or 3 week thing?
Mm-hmm. Like Cody they're calling the undisputed TNT title for this match, I think.
Like Cody was never going to be out long, and I think they knew that, but they still, for whatever reason, felt compelled to have an interim champion.
I always enjoy when someone gets to hold 2 belts, but they're the same belt, even though it's not a tag team title.
And we were pretty confident the match would be enjoyable, but we thought the story coming into it was a bit silly, but that's okay.
I like it when like Razor had it or like Sami Zayn had it in 2020, like just 2 of the same belt. It's funny.
I guess so, if you say so.
Yeah. And I would describe it as a pretty epic spot-filled opener. There was a lot of big boy spots.
There were. I thought it was interesting. Sami was already in the ring. He didn't even get
Both of them
an intro. So I think it was just one of those, like, the show is packed, so they don't have time, especially for Cody's, like, 18-minute entrance or whatever, right? There's no time for that. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So there's notables that there's, like, Sami did the usual double leapfrog and then the corkscrew dropkick. Cody bridged a ladder from the corner of the apron, so right next to the ring post to the barricade. That would come into play later.
One detail I liked early on was that when Sami was climbing the ladder, he actually was climbing it quickly. You know what I mean? Like, instead of like acting like taking 20 seconds on each rung, he was kind of flying up the ladder, which I thought was a detail a lot of ladder matches don't have. A lot of the ref holding ladders in this, but I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
To keep everybody safe, because every ladder in this match was pretty humongous, right? So I have no problem with them keeping people safe by refs holding ladders.
Right.
It doesn't bother me.
After a brawl in the crowd, Cody clothesline Sami over the barricade to ringside area, but Sami comes back and jumps over the barricade, kind of hits like an iffy cutter.
Yeah, it's like Cody didn't quite want to go face first onto the floor, which I can appreciate, but it was like a slow motion cutter as soon as he made contact with Cody, right? It did look a bit strange, but it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah. Then Guevara hit Cody with a ladder to knock him off the apron. And then Cody later on hits a superplex from the top of the ladder, which is pretty nice. Like,
Ridiculous.
humongous superplex.
Like a delayed vertical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
and
nice.
And then later on he drops him like a gourd buster on the hinge of the ladder.
Which I don't think I've seen done before.
I think I've seen that maybe like once or twice.
So the ladder's upside down, open like a V.
And I think Excalibur mentioned it, I didn't even think of it, but that could pinch you a lot.
Absolutely. Get front
like
suplex on an open ladder. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. And then as Cody's climbing to get the titles, Guevara just like leapfrogs, jumps off of the top of another ladder to hit a super cutter, which is just awesome.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I didn't expect that. Later on, there's a crossroads off the ladders by Cody, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because Guevara like took it as high as he could, I think, without killing himself.
It looked awesome.
So it was pretty insane. Then Guevara does his best impression. Jeff Hardy does a swanton off the top of the ladder onto the ladder bridge, but the ladder bridge does not break.
It looked very painful for everybody.
That just makes it look worse, because like the ladder bridge breaking is probably one of the most satisfying things in wrestling for me.
And it probably gives a bit of relief to them, right?
Right.
Rather than it not giving at all.
Yeah,
I think that would hurt
like
more.
like Sammy just kind of like knocked off like, and then Sammy, the finish comes when Sammy uses the titles, like he hits Cody off of the ladder with the titles, and Sammy actually wins, which is kind of surprising to me.
It's funny, we have almost all the same notable spots, other than you didn't mention that for some reason Cody's good friend, they say that Fuego's good friends of both of them involved, and then Cody ends up killing him, right? With what did he hit him with? The J Driller, did he? I think. Right away.
Yeah, I think so.
To his good, like any good babyface does, right? Your friend runs out, as they tell us, his good friend, and he kills him. But anyways, yeah, this match was pretty crazy, and despite, like I said, we were complaining about the interim belt being created for that short period of time. This was an excellent match, as we kind of expected it would be, right?
Yeah.
The pace was awesome right from the beginning and the entire way through. Like, there was no let up in here, really. There was no extended times of people setting things up, it didn't feel like. And then you got, like, several just insane, I thought, creative spots that were pretty much executed perfectly, right? There was no major botches or any sort of sloppiness in this. And for me, at least, I don't know about you, I was surprised by the winner. I just assumed Cody was going to retain here. So I thought Sammy showed a ton of fire in this. Cody was excellent walking the line between a babyface, because there were times where he was interacting with the crowd, right, and warning them to get out of the way at one point and like high-fiving them in another point, and then sort of also doing some heel things like taking out Fuego as soon as he came out. But I mean, overall, this was an excellent opening match, and both of these guys should be proud. They were clearly willing to do anything in this, right? They pretty much killed themselves in this one. So I hope Sammy's title run this time's a little more interesting. They need to somehow get more character development going with him, and not just him holding Bristol board messages during a commercial break. They need to do something more with him.
Carry both belts around as a two belt, one title, same title belt thing.
You do love the two belts.
I think it'd be
He did
funny.
look cool wearing them both. And this was a great start to the show. I don't think there's much denying that.
We did expect it to be good. Definitely delivered. I think it started out kind of slow, and we could have done without the crowd ball, in my opinion, but once it got going, it was great. There were a lot of amazing spots. I definitely had some strong reactions or gasped a few times because it was just sick.
Which is hard for us because we've seen everything at this point,
right? Yeah, both of them did a great job here. I especially gotta give props to Sammy. I think took most of the bumps, even like hitting the cutter. That takes he just takes a big back bump.
That might have been my favorite
I think
spot.
he took the biggest beating. I think so too. It
looked
really
crazy.
Cool. Diving and the ladder bridge not breaking, that has to hurt too. You never expect that to happen either, right? You always probably go into it with the mindset, oh, it's just gonna like give. I feel like they should have gotten a better gimmicked ladder.
Maybe they didn't want one.
And also props to AEW for putting on a great opener, but also surprising result, which I don't think they can pull off a lot, because I definitely expected Cody to win, because Sammy's just an interim champion really, and his title run was like okay and fairly recent. But I'm already Sammy winning. He just needs to drop it to one of the Men of the Year guys, and then the Men of the Year guys beat up Lambert for no reason at all. They just beat him up.
I guess I could have put it in my news, but I did see a little thing that everybody involved in Beach Break came out okay, considering there were some big spots in this show. We'll talk about the other ones later, but that nobody was really injured and everyone came out of it okay, which is good.
I feel like some people could call this one a spot fest, but I wouldn't. But even so, what a spot fest.
Yeah, when the spots are amazing and stuff that you don't see a ton. And for me, it wasn't people hitting people with stuff. It was incorporating things into maneuvers. That's the stuff I enjoy. Anyone can hit somebody in the back with a chair, but not everybody can springboard cutter off of like a 20-foot ladder or whatever that was, right?
That was sweet.
Yeah, it was good.
Next, we get a quick interview with Team Taz with Shivani, and they're outside for some reason.
On a beach? Question mark, even though someone in like the second row or whatever of the show has a sign that says there is no beach in Cleveland, I think it said, or something. It's like something like Cleveland, we have no beaches or something.
I forgot to mention, it was disappointing. There was no Gargano in sight.
No, there was not. But yeah, they're outside in the cold for this interview.
Yeah. Tony says it's freezing, and Hobbs tells him to man up. I accidentally wrote Hobb.
Just singular?
Yep,
just one Hobb.
Just one Hobb.
He's half the man he used to be.
Exactly. Hobbs says every dog has their day, and Martin got lucky. Ian challenges Martin to a third match. Cool.
All right.
Stark says Lethal got a week off, and he hasn't forgotten about his challenge. I don't know what he's referring to. So he challenges Lethal to an FTW title match, highest prestige.
I'd forgotten about Lethal too a little bit.
I don't even know what challenge he's referring to.
That's funny because you're usually the detail man. I was counting on you for that.
I don't understand.
I vaguely remember an interaction between the two, but I don't
even remember that. I thought it was a final pro, nothing amazing. Hobbs Martin 3, fine, cool, yeah. I guess. And Lethal versus Stark should be a decent match, except I probably won't watch it.
I feel like I remember an encounter between Lethal and Starks at ringside or something. But I could be wrong.
At all.
Yeah, I thought both of these guys did fine.
All I remember is Lethal interfering in the match.
Right.
Last week, 2 weeks ago.
They were both fine here, and obviously it makes sense for Starks to say more than Hobbs. I'm just not very interested in these guys. Again, they get a whole bunch of TV time, but they never really seem to accomplish anything of substance, right? Like, sure, Ricky Starks has a made-up belt, but that's it, right? And they don't win too often, and I don't know. So they get a lot of time and don't do much. So I thought this was fine, but whatever. And Hobbs Martin 3, okay.
Yep,
sure.
That's something.
Yep.
Next we get Wardlow versus two jobbers. Forgot their names because who cares?
I didn't get them either. I have Wardlow versus jobbers officially in my notes. Sorry, boys.
And a handicap squash. Wardlow takes them both out, chucks the one guy. That's how I'm saying the one guy. Wardlow powerbombs the one guy and then powerbombs the other guy 3 times before going back to powerbombing the first guy.
Right.
And then Wardlow powerbombs one guy onto the other guy and stacks them for the win.
Yeah, and Spears didn't get involved in this, right?
No, he did not.
I guess this was like a palate cleanser after the crazy opener, and I guess at least
was it though?
At least they added a second jobber, but it's just more of the same, and I feel like I would be just fine if this was like a 8-second recap of Dark or Elevation matches, right? Like
Wardlow's
killing people on Dark. Here's 10 seconds of it. Perfect, right? Like I don't know why this is.
Match.
How many weeks in a row is this now?
A
like
lot.
A half dozen, maybe. Yeah, so it's
7.
time. It's time to move on. Like pull the trigger on this guy or stop. It would be my suggestion.
Pull the trigger or put down the gun.
Oh, nice. That's what I should have said. But again, I haven't slept in 4 days, so I'm not sure what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I thought it was a standard Wardlow squash match, except it was slightly different. Said 2 jobbers this time. Ooh. Nothing special, because just another squash. I thought Wardlow had a cool single this time, though, so that's something. He's
dressing more babyface, like the white gear he had last week or week before.
I was thinking it's weird when the big man wears that.
He is a big man.
More so when he has white boots. I feel like that always looks weird when you're a large person.
He's starting to turn babyface. That's what that means.
I think he
starts from the feet up.
I think he's implying he has a god complex, maybe.
Maybe.
Next we go to Chris Jericho and Proud and Powerful, not the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho and Proud and Powerful versus Daniel Garcia in 2.0. And I thought it was interesting. They come out to Jericho's theme, of course, because they have to, I guess.
Yep.
And Santana Ortiz just walks straight to the ring while Jericho does like the entrance pose and whatnot.
Yes, the storytelling in this match from their side I thought was really good.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was an average TV trios match, but then did have that storytelling in it. So notables from the match, Santana hit like a 3 amigos, and he does the thing where Ortiz comes in for the third.
Yep.
For a double suplex. Tag offense by Proud and Powerful, ending in what I would call it like a plank splash from Ortiz.
It looks awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's
really
such a
funny.
simple thing, but he
covers him like that too.
Yeah,
it's really
perfect.
funny. Garcia and 2.0 are in control for a bit until Proud and Powerful come back with a double flapjack and a double drop kick. Jericho tags himself in off of Santana, but then Ortiz tags off of Jericho. They argue a bit so the heels can take advantage. There's some sweet tag offense by Power and Powerful after the break. It ended in like a sit-up powerbomb discus lariat combo for 2. And then the finish came when Jericho took out Jeff Parker, and he hit kind of like a sneaky juice effect to lead like kind of through the ropes.
Yeah.
And then Santana hit a pile driver for the win. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like they don't know it, but Jericho helped them kind of. Which I thought kind of ruined like the thing where like they were just kicking ass without Jericho.
See, I kind of liked it because the story was that they were avoiding tagging in Jericho at all, right? And then Jericho kind of decides he's just going to walk away for a bit since they're not going to use him anyways, but because I think he's going to be the baby face that remains, he still helps them out by hitting the Judas effect from the floor that they didn't see, right, and contributing to the pin. So I thought the match was fun. I don't think it was amazing, but I really liked the storytelling within the inner circle. The match was fast with some good double teaming from each side. The outcome makes sense, right? And I'm hoping for a strong build for Santana and Ortiz, and I don't think 2.0 really need to win. They do a great job in their role as being like enhancement talent's not even like low card.
That's another thing for me too, is I don't think I wanted the Jericho involvement in the ending, because I feel like because given the level of that trio, like 2.0 and Garcia, Power and Powerful could totally handle them.
But I think it's that babyface Jericho can say, see, even when you guys are jerks to me, I do have your back. You don't think I do, but I do.
That's true.
Like, I feel like that's kind of where they're going. So I like the finish with the Judas effect from outside. Since he couldn't get tagged in, I thought that was a nice touch. And I just want them to fire up dominant heel Santana and Ortiz and just let them go.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with wrestling figures.
It's time for them. They're awesome.
They're so good.
Yep.
They haven't been heels in ages.
And they will be great.
They are awesome. I thought it was a fine team match. It was very clearly a cool down match from the very hot opener. I don't consider the squash that.
And listen, you and I are contrary people. They need to stop telling me how great Daniel Garcia is, and at some point he needs to show me. And I know we say this every week, but I'm starting to get to the point where I'm going to turn on this guy because they're trying to, it's like when WWE tries to ram things down my throat. Like, he's good. He's talented, for sure. I see that, but I don't every week telling us how special this kid is when I don't see it, and he's not even racking up wins. So I'm starting to
That's what annoys me too, is when people love something and they just ram it down my throat, which makes me want to watch it less. Or for example, my friends talk about the Daredevil show, and they say it's so good, it's so good, and I'm like, first of all, he's just a blind guy. Second of all, I don't need to keep hearing about it, right? And then I don't love Iron Man that much, but everyone loves Iron Man, which makes me like him less, even though he's not the worst.
Well, I've never seen Titanic, which for a person of my age is crazy. Because it was just everyone telling me I had to see it and it was the best movie ever, and I was like, no, it doesn't interest me to start out.
Right, yeah, and that's then my thing too.
The more people tell me I must see it, the more I'm like,
Right, or I don't, what Stranger Things is?
Yep.
Yeah.
I started it.
My friends recommend that a lot, or at least my one friend does, and I have no interest in it really, because it is its own thing. I don't really have an interest in it.
Your mom and I started it because it was all the rage.
Off.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there's the one guy from the show who's also in Free Guy.
Yep.
And so I call him Keith from Free Guy, even though the show came out first. So.
Just to spite people.
Yes.
Of course you do.
It's funny.
But yeah, that's where I'm getting with Garcia, right?
Right.
Just. I don't know. Stop telling me.
I feel like if Walter wasn't so good, it would have been that too. But he was awesome, right? So I feel like it'd be like that too. And also, I feel like it got to that with Toni Storm for me, because I probably hate on her a little more than how bad she is, but she's not great, and everyone thinks she's so amazing.
Right.
It really it hits a point, I guess, right?
It does.
But I think there were good parts in this match. I love the fast paced combo offense from Power and Powerful. It's
Me too.
Really cool. Jericho's time in the match was little to none, which is part of the story, but I'm fine with that.
Great point.
I wish the finish was a little different, because I think they totally could have just won on their own.
Yep.
Next we got an Archer Hangman promo package. Archer says he wants a Texas death match against Hangman, because that's his match or whatever.
It's NXT and the challenger just picks his stipulation, I guess.
Right.
That kind of bugged me a bit.
I guess it kind of can go at least he can go to management and they can.
Right.
I guess, right?
But who are you? You've been gone forever.
Right, true. Paige said he wanted a challenger, and now he's got one. Then he was kind of shocked because he got informed that it was a Texas Death Match, and he said he would be ready for it.
Yeah. I didn't like Archer choosing the stip. I didn't like Paige looking nervous for a second about it there, which I think is what he was trying to get across, because he shouldn't care. to me at this point. And honestly, I was so unimpressed by Archer's match last week that my expectations are not super high
I'm
for
actually
this.
okay with this because I thought it was a solid segment, but I feel like this helps it because I'm not really too keen on Archer versus Hangman.
So you want the stip to...
I do, because this is pretty much a last man standing match.
Right.
And it's a no holds barred match at the end of the day, which I think will benefit Archer kind of hides him because I think he's not the worst, but honestly, the more I see him, the less I think he's good.
I just thought he looked really slow and not in
That match is way too long.
and not in as good a shape as he has in the past. So
yeah, I don't think he's like the worst, but he's just not great in the ring. So I think this at least helps. I'm still not super interested in this match, honestly, because it is just like a credible enough challenger for Paige.
Which sets them up to easily impress us, right? If my expectations are low and they come through, you know what?
I think
I might
this
like
is
it.
kind of odd coming so soon after the Lights Out match this week. 'Cause
right.
It's only, going to be 2 weeks after? But that's okay.
Paige is going to get thrown through some stuff, I imagine. Yep.
Next, we get a Jurassic Express and also HFO thing. No
Yay,
Andrade.
they're so amazing. Yeah.
Jurassic Express versus number 1 ranked Private Party. Number 1 ranked Private Party.
Made me
FYI,
laugh.
Number 1 ranked. For the tag titles on Rampage. Cage talks about everyone being after the champs. That is so weird.
That's how it works, usually.
That is crazy. Hardy says nobody cares, and he talks about Private Party, speaking of nobody cares, and says they're most athletic and talented here. Well, when you're only competing with Christian Cage, you're probably right, but Jungle Boy is and Luchasaurus are standing right there, so. I don't really care about this. I mean, what can I say? It's HFO, and it's a title match on Rampage. Title matches on Rampage are like as beta as it gets, I think.
Beta as it gets.
Or like secondary. Like
Yep.
The only title match that's mattered on Rampage, I think, was the first one, which was Cage beating Omega for the Impact title. Yep. Since then, nothing. And Private Party being ranked number 1 shows us the state of the rankings this early in the year. It's not necessarily their fault because the rankings reset, so it's going to be a little shaky, but it just shows you the state of the rankings like this early into the year, right? And also, please get Christian away from Jurassic Express, please, as fast as possible.
And I guess you can use the rankings resetting like this to get teams that otherwise would never get shots early in the year, right?
Weird.
But, I mean, I think the speculation will probably start because Matt actually mentioned his brother, not by name, I don't think, but there was a reference to Jeff Hardy there. And then, did you notice lots of references to the name Ass Boys? So is that going to become their tag team name?
That would be funny.
Which I think is funny.
They are ass. They suck.
This whole segment didn't feel necessary to me, but, I mean, it was pretty short. So, and again, like you said, Private Party as the number 1 ranked tag team is kind of dumb. But that's how this works in these rankings, I guess.
Yeah. Next, CM Punk speaks. He's wearing ring gear and a hoodie. He asks how Cleveland is doing. Says it's been a while since he's been there. I'll take his word for it.
Pandering Punk starts out here.
Yep.
My favorite.
He says he has his long tights, which are just so nice.
He's ready to fight.
And he has a souvenir from last week, and it says it looks good on no one, referring to the scarf.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's sick of talking about it. He's sick of hearing MJF talk. He wants MJF in the ring. And he says what the hell, he wants to do it tonight. MJF comes out. He keeps asking if they want to see the match and just says no. He asks if they're out of their minds and that he wastes this big match on Cleveland. MJF says they'll give them the match they all want next week in Chicago. Punk versus MJF, so he actually does go with it this time. He says they aren't in Chicago this week, though, and says they're impatient and want the match now. He says after he beats Punk in Chicago, the people will finally get to see the real CM Punk, the Punk who loses his smile. I understood that reference.
Mm-hmm.
When he doesn't get what he wants and blames everyone else, the Punk who will sue. That was funny.
Yep.
MJF says all the chance of Punk's name won't stop him from abandoning us again and crying about it on a podcast.
Loved all this.
Yes.
Because it's how I feel about Punk, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Expressed better than I could.
Punk says if he didn't come back, MJF wouldn't get his brush with greatness. He tells MJF to get his stuff on, take care of business, but they all know he can't. Punk says he always gets back up. MJF says, why don't they test that? The Pinnacle come out, and Spears jumps Punk from behind. Then they all gang up on Punk, and the FTR lay him out for a chair shot from Spears. MJF keeps taunting Punk and asks why he doesn't get up now. And then he tells Wardlow to powerbomb Punk. He powerbombs him on a chair. And then He sits cross-legged on top of Punk,
Yeah, that
which
was
is
a cool
really
visual.
funny. MJ says where Punk's career starts, it will end in Chicago.
And you could see Wardlow was like a little bit reluctant. I think he did a good job of that as well, of like following these orders. But yeah, I thought pandering Punk to start out, so I was annoyed right away. I thought the scarf jokes he made about the price on Amazon and whatever were kind of lame. I didn't think that was a very good CM Punk. Then I thought MJF kind of saved the segment for me because he's kind of doing basic stuff too, but the heel variety of it, and he's a lot better, I think, at this point. And for me, like I said while you were going over it, his criticisms of Punk, his fake smile and being happy as long as things go his way, and complaining about things and suing people is pretty much how I feel about CM Punk, which is an unpopular opinion among most fans, but I don't really care. So I thought that MJF took Punk apart pretty brilliantly through that stretch. Punk's rebuttal I thought was a lot stronger than his stuff to begin, so I kind of like that. I thought the segment was, I think it's pretty easily far too long, because there's been a lot of these happening almost weekly, it seems. But
Yeah.
I would say I enjoyed it, but it could have been pared down a little bit. But I thought in particular MJF was really good, and Punk, at least his rebuttal was good. The first stuff, not so much.
Yeah, I think it was quite a lengthy one, but I think it was still a pretty good segment. I think I generally enjoyed the segments. That first initial promo battle they had was really good. But I think they're still usually pretty good. Above all else, we do finally get that match next week,
Right.
Punk versus MJF. So I think, I do think they could have put it here on this show if they wanted to like build it sooner. But I feel like it might have also gotten overshadowed by the opener and main event. It should be a good one for next week. I think the attack from the Pinnacle is fine and all. Although if Gargano was going to debut, that would have been a good spot. I really liked him sitting cross-legged on Punk at the end. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was cool.
A nice touch.
It was.
Next we get a quick promo from the Acclaimed. Caster says everyone is happy Mox is back, and so are they, because Bowen's going to beat his ass on Rampage.
Doubt it.
Bowen says he hasn't forgotten what Mox did to him, and he will beat his ass all over Cincinnati, and that is a mic drop. All I remember is that they did have a match against the Acclaimed, Mox and Kingston, so I remember the rap.
Yep. I like this quick promo. I think these guys are cool, and Bowen sounded good, and he got a chance to say more than he usually does. And I think, I don't know, we've been saying it for weeks. I think these guys are pretty awesome, and they could be built into they're a really valuable piece going forward. A couple young guys that both can wrestle. Bowens has really impressed me lately. Both of them can talk. They've got a cool gimmick, so I think these guys are pretty great.
Yeah, yeesh. I thought it was a solid little promo. It should be a solid one for Mox and Rampage, and I like that there is at least like a little history between them, right? Like It's not like I feel like Ethan Page was like, I mean, that probably was good, but like at least like I feel like this one has kind of a reason, even though it's also random.
And I haven't seen Rampage, but I've been impressed with Bowens lately, so I imagine they probably had a pretty good match.
Yeah, I don't tend to watch Rampage a lot. I don't know.
We're very hit and miss.
I really thought I would more when it started, because I think we did, right?
Something about the date and time make it tough.
We watched the first week, and then the second week was Punk, right? I think. So, I mean, you kind of had to watch, and yeah, it's definitely the time and date hurts it a lot.
It does.
Like, I don't know, it makes it also like hard if we wanted to review it regularly. Right. So that's kind of like, if it was Thursday, like UK, that'd be cool. UK is also in the day, so that makes it easier.
It is.
It would be easier with the time, but so solid little promo, and then we get a Griff Garrison and Julia Hart interview. Mark Sterling interrupts and says Cargill has chosen Julia Hart to be the next challenger for the TBS title. Also, that reminds me, it was kind of ironic that the TNT title was on TBS this week and the TBS title is on TNT. So they kind of need to figure that out. She just had to sign a thing because she still has the eye injury or whatever. Basically, she's still a pirate. Garrison says he doesn't think it's a good idea, and Hart says she can do her own talking, and she signs the thing.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that the storyline is that Jade is choosing weak opponents just so that she can...
I definitely think that's at least what she's doing here, right?
I like it, because then she can keep beating people and brag about her title run. I think that would be cool. I thought Hart did not sound good here. And her reaction didn't seem to match Garrison's tone, right? Like he was just like calmly like, you shouldn't, and she just, but I think, and I know you hate this, that this is House of Black stuff.
Why should she be in the House of Black?
I'm not saying she should. I'm not saying I want it to happen.
Why though?
They may be just misleading, but I feel like there's a trail of breadcrumbs here to her becoming part of the House of Black or being affiliated with them or something.
She does not. She sucks. She doesn't fit them at all.
No.
Like, I feel like Brody King and Malachi Black fit perfectly together, right?
They do.
So, like, I don't.
I'm not sure that, but maybe I'm just reading stuff into it, but it kind of feels like there's all of these little breadcrumbs.
I thought it was interesting, too, because I think, I feel like Pillman and Garrison have one of these kind of moments, too. It wasn't quite as sharp, but, like, kind of like where one of them snapped back at the other. I don't remember who.
They did.
They did
a
little bit, right?
Because Pillman didn't want to face somebody, and Garrison was all gung-ho about it.
I think so.
I forget.
Yeah.
It might have been about facing
like
the House of Black, frankly.
It was something involving this feud, but I don't remember what or like I don't even remember who turned on who.
And if the idea is that the House of Black are so intimidating that it causes infighting, that's fine.
Yeah, that works too.
Yep.
Or yeah. It was fine. I don't really care. I guess there's tension to Varsity Blondes, but like who cares, and also why? And Cargill vs. Hart is a joke of a title match, but maybe on purpose.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That she's picking someone who's half blind, right? So that's a good start.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's where they're going with it.
Next we get Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch.
Ooh, anyone say low point in the show? In ring for sure.
What? What makes you think that?
And I kind of like both of them, but
I like Hirsch. I don't love Velvet. I like her less as time goes on.
I like her charisma and stuff, but
I don't.
Anyways,
I wouldn't call it charisma.
We'll talk about it.
In a mediocre women's TV match.
Mediocre might be generous, but go ahead.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Hirsch ducks out after being in danger and then attacks Velvet when she falls out. Hirsch gets out of an armbar with a buckle bomb. Later on, double knees to the back by Velvet with Hirsch on the middle rope. She was kind of there for too long.
Yeah.
Pump knee by Hirsch. She goes for an armbar, but Velvet gets her foot on the bottom rope. Hirsch counters a kick into a deep roll-up. I believe Tights assisted for the win. And after the match, she attacks Velvet until Stylander chases her off.
Yeah, I didn't think this was very good. I've seen both of these women look much better than this. I think both were guilty of some sloppy stuff and non-impactful looking stuff, and I think some of the camera angles that were chosen highlighted that. Even JR commented on how weak Red Velvet's back elbows looked, and they did. I think the heel her should be a killer and should dominate, like using her amateur background and throwing people around.
Yeah, I think she's pretty good, but this is not a great showing for her.
No, and commentary reminding us in the midst of this repeatedly that these are the top 2 ranked women, which you actually looked up because you were so...
Yeah, I was...
That's not a ringing endorsement for the division,
right?
right?
I hate the rankings now. Hold on, I'm going to go check again while you're talking.
It was not a good match. Both of these women have potential, I think, for sure, in different areas. For Hirsch, I think it's more the in-ring stuff. Red Velvet, to me, is really fast and has charisma, but sometimes she gets ahead of herself, I feel like. She's so fast.
Yeah.
And they just didn't seem to have any chemistry, right? They didn't work well together. And again... adding to the problem is this will be, I wrote it at the time and it was true, the only women's match on the show because they only do one a week, which I think is becoming a bit of an issue for me.
Yeah, a little bit. And so as this was probably before the show, they were both at 3-0.
Right.
But Velvet is ahead of Hirsch.
Yeah.
So I guess Hirsch will be up now. I don't know, the rankings are really like some of the teams I'm like, yeah. But then other times like Private Party and the Gun Club were above the Acclaimed, and like even though they only have one match, number 5 ranked is House of Black. Oh, they get a title shot.
Right. So
that's good for them.
Weird.
Yeah. Oh, and Anna Jay, you know how she had a TBS title shot last week?
Right.
She is in fact ranked number 5.
Good for her. That trend continues.
Indeed.
5th. If you can't be first, be 5th.
And then next, it's Powerhouse Hobbs is also ranked number 5. So
here we go.
I mean, I don't want to say it. And technically, Adam Cole is still undefeated after the show.
He is.
Yep. This was okay at best.
Generous.
There wasn't a lot that was good or interesting. I think I'm definitely of the opinion Red Velvet's not great. The more I see her, I just think like, eh.
Keep her on dark for now.
Yeah,
right? Mostly.
And Hirsch is quite good, but she didn't really put that on display here.
I agree.
The whole feud doesn't interest me very much, and I've been fine with having it almost all on Rampage.
Yep.
I think most of the women's matches go on Rampage. Which, I mean, that's all right, because...
Yeah.
I mean,
just we don't get to see them too often, but that's our own problem.
That's not...
We could.
I'm okay with that. Next we get a House of Black promo, which is very nice. They talk about how Pac and Death Triangle will feel true pain. They say that Pac will look to the teaching that House of Black bestowed upon him and say thank you, because just like death, they are inevitable. And I wrote in brackets, also like Thanos.
Yeah, so I love the tone and like aesthetic of this,
I
and I
love
like
it
how
so
like
much.
Brody King just sort of appeared right after Black was talking.
And Black's just kind of like, I don't know, he's definitely like the one in charge, which I think is like,
Yeah,
I think that's
and
cool.
it was nice to hear King speak, and I thought he did a good job.
I
And like
agree.
Brody King, it got me just dreaming of Brody King versus Pac in a one-on-one, just because even the visual of it, because one is so tiny and one is so humongous. Like one guy's little and
They could
jacked,
totally kill
and
each
one
other.
guy is huge and like kind of, I don't want to say chubby. He's lost a bunch of weight, but he's not ripped,
And
right?
he's like
So,
tattooed everywhere.
and I don't know if you noticed this, they made sure to include a close-up of Julia Hart in this segment.
Did they?
They did. A
Ugh,
close up of
so
her
stupid.
with her eye patch, I think it was. So I like these segments. They're like a departure from standard wrestling stuff, and AEW doesn't lean into it too much.
Yeah,
And
there's not like a lot of
it's not
supernaturalness,
like
which is perfect.
sure the lights go off and he shows up in other parts, but that obviously doesn't require him to teleport.
And that's like very minor.
And he
too.
did get caught the one time when the lights came on, anyways.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think this is cool stuff.
I again didn't catch much of this, so I did have to borrow notes. That's what I mean by that. But it was really sick, just because they talk so differently,
and you want to
it's
pay close attention.
I really do.
You're captivated.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Black speaks so well. He's just so unique. His promos, it's really truly cool. King spoke well. Also, I think he only added to it. I think I really enjoy this gimmick. I am down for them versus any combination of Death Triangle, and if Phoenix is good to go, I mean, hey, they get a third member, get some trios matches. That'd be pretty
amazing.
nice. They would be some cool trios champions if they find a suitable third member. I can't think of any off the bat.
Julia Hart.
To compete in the trios matches.
Exactly.
You think she would get her ass beat by
She's
Death
ready.
Triangle. I would love that. I would love for Phoenix to just kick her head off.
Ouch.
That'd be sick. Next we get a Britt Baker segment thing in the ring. So
yeah, I thought this was weird. Not that I don't love Britt Baker, but anyways, you go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it.
She has like PWI plaques and mag covers of her and whatnot. So,
Yes, all of the awards she's recently won for 2021, I guess.
Yes. Baker says it's been a while since they've had a chat and that she's had a mic in the ring.
A chat. I like a chat. Like that just means her talking. Like there's no conversation happening. She just grabs the mic and
not
talks.
even with Tony.
No, that's what I mean.
She goes over her plaques and covers and says what a year she had, and she was right in saying it would be her era. She says she has had 9 singles wins, which you think it'd be more since winning the title, and roast Cleveland's team from whatever sport who are against Pittsburgh. I'm assuming
Sport
hockey.
ball.
But I don't really.
It's a lot of football because
Okay.
I am a Browns fan and their quarterback is Baker Mayfield, and I find him to be, he was the number 1 overall draft pick, and I find him very disappointing. So that's why she keeps saying like,
And she's Baker.
a Baker that you can actually count on to win.
She says the spot was open for the taking and she made it her division. She said she was voted the best by the fans because actually, yeah, in the PWI one
Right.
at least, it is fan voted. And she's making history like Cleveland did against Pittsburgh, and she makes another sports roast. I don't know. That's a miss for me.
Because she's a big Steelers backer, and they've been a long time torturer of the Browns as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
She says she won't settle until she's female of the decade. They might as well give it to her now. She says she's the champion they deserve, and Cleveland finally has a Baker to count on. She signs off with DMD.
So you noticed it too during the crowd was a little bit distracting at some point. Like I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, they definitely booed her more, which I think that other than it being distracting, it was good.
So she obviously did a good job despite a kind of distracting crowd, but this was quite lengthy, and for me, my problem with it is it didn't advance any story and didn't create any story, right? She just came out and talked, and then so I made those notes of like it doesn't create or advance any story, and then what happens directly after, I thought I was going to be wrong about that, but you'll get to it and I wasn't wrong. So I guess it was just a way to get her in front of the crowd to rip on their football team and just generate some heat, which is fine, but I would have preferred it lead to something, right? Like there's no payoff coming out of this unless, I don't know, Gargano shows up later, because he's defending his city, but anyways. So yeah, I don't know what the point of this was, I guess, is what I'm saying.
As such, he did not.
Right.
Solid promo from Baker. I think it was a strong one as usual. My only major complaint, like you, would be it didn't have much direction.
No,
didn't
exactly.
really
That's the
have
word
any
I'm looking
future
for.
direction either.
Yeah.
Hopefully she does have a clear direction sooner or later. But I think it's still a good promo in general.
It was.
Because she's always good.
She's never going to be bad.
It was kind of refreshing also to hear her booed a lot again. I mean, it was distracting at one point, but I mean, as a general thing, it was good because I've kind of forgotten that she's really supposed to be heel, so it's kind of good to have it back to that. 'Cause she is supposed to be like a heel. I feel like sometimes it just slips into not really that.
Right.
And then we get like a quick thing where Nyla Rose and Vicky come out.
So this is where I thought, okay, so maybe I'm wrong, and that she's now prompted Nyla Rose to come out and address her.
Which I thought would have been weird because they already faced off.
But at least it would mean that the promo accomplished something, right? But no.
Nope,
that's not why she's
completely
here.
unrelated.
Right.
She says she should be the TBS champion. No. And she is only not because of Soho and her fluke win. Well, that's kind of how the tournament works. I don't know if she knows that, but that's kind of how it works. She says they wrestled 100 times. Please don't. She would win 99 times. No. And she wants Ruby Soho next week. So there's... So I thought it was very quick and to the point, and I guess we have our women's match of the week for Dynamite.
That's right. I actually liked her intensity here. I thought she did a good job, but I found it really oddly placed right after Britt's segment.
Yeah,
right? Like,
and I also feel like it should have been like
between.
a pre-produced one. Just I feel like it's kind of weird that she's just like coming out and then boom, gone.
Because like I said, I thought she was coming out to address Britt, but instead she talks about the completely other championship, right? And then Ruby Soho. So I thought it was a strange combination, but Nyla was fine here, I thought.
Yeah, it was alright, but I don't know, it was very weird, you know.
Yep.
But I don't usually cover them anymore, but there were the match advertisements for next week, and we get Penta Pac versus House of Black.
Yes, please take my money.
They advertised Joker Penta, so if I don't get Joker Penta next week, I will be suing.
Oh, wow, okay.
Next we get our main event, which is actually the show is technically done.
That's right, lights out.
Right, but there was this weird, they for some reason put on a match. So.
And they let the crowd stay.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That'll make more sense later too.
Yeah, it was kind of. Oh yeah, that's funny. And yeah, it was kind of weird. The Dynamite was shorter this week, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways, we do get Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy in a lights out unsanctioned match. I just call it lights out match, honestly. Which I think is kind of a cooler name than an unsanctioned match. I mean, unsanctioned match is very to the point, but I think this is kind of a cooler name. And very nice. Falls kind of more street fight kind of match. But I'll talk about more later. It was good, but kind of disappointed me in a different way. I don't know. I'll talk about that later. Yeah. So right off the bat, there's kind of like the rapid strike exchange. It reminds me of Owens and Zayn. Whoops. I remember they used to do a very specific way. They were kind of like just like they'd be doing. It would almost be like
rapid
they're hitting your
punches.
end in sync too. I remember they always like I still could picture that like instantly.
Cassidy starting out super aggressive and fired up because it's not normal for him, right?
Right. Cole pulls out a chair from under the ring, and Danhausen was holding onto it, which I thought was really weird but kind of amusing.
Yeah, that's very Danhausen.
And they signed Danhausen.
I am not a huge fan, but I
forgot I could have put that in the news.
I get that people love him. He's a very unique
kind of
fella.
Interesting, but I don't think I need him in AEW.
No.
It does depend on how they use him, to be honest. Like
it's a very indie thing.
As long as they keep it very minor, I'm probably fine with that, but I don't think I really
I'm wondering if he's going to keep bringing the jar of teeth with him in AEW. He always has teeth that he pours in people's mouths.
Oh, they should totally do a segment with him and Baker.
Yeah.
That would be actually kind of funny.
I could see that.
There's a DDT on the outside by Cassidy. Cole looks for a Panama Sunrise on the outside, but Cassidy counters and drives him through the timekeeper's table. Just kind of like literally drives him through it, which not literally. Like just actually
like puts him in a car and drives him, loads him in the back seat, buckles him in, drives through a table.
Make sure he has a seatbelt on.
Right?
Yeah. Patel drop brainbuster by Cole for 2. There's a nice Michinoku driver on the 2 seated chairs by Cassidy for 2. I'm surprised Cassidy didn't do his homework and know that Cole is very good at taking bumps on chairs reversed.
Yes, with the back of the chairs.
Him and Black did that, I remember, because that was really cool. Brandon Cutler comes in, he's just like spraying the cold spray already all around, which I think is really funny. Then he gets taken out by Yuta, who gets taken out by Fish, and ends up in more people coming on. The Bucks take out Chuck Taylor. I thought it was kind of odd that O'Reilly wasn't here.
Yeah, he was not.
Where's O'Reilly been? I honestly forgot they
Fish
even signed
was and
him.
he wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. What's Red Dragon doing? Redragon. Sorry. As Cole and the Bucks look for a triple super kick, Roppongi Vice take out the Bucks, and Cassie hits a beach break for 2. So hopefully we can get Roppongi Vice versus Bucks soon.
Yep, I'm fine with that too.
Watch that. Cole goes for a low blow, but Cassie has a cup on. Lazy kicks and a Panama Sunrise by Cassie for 2. Very disrespectful. They go backstage and Cole puts Cassie through Tony Khan's table for 2. Low blow atop the tunnel by Cassidy, and then he hugs Cole and drives them both through part of the stage. And as they fall, Cole kind of like flips over.
He took it
he
really
high.
He
so
did.
It ended up looking really cool.
It did, because it was like kind of a basic looking fall. I
But
mean,
then,
not that
like,
I'm willing to do
Cole,
any of them, but then the way he landed looked painful.
and Cassie pins him for the win.
And Cole sold it, like, just stayed there motionless for the remainder
Yeah.
of the show, right? So I don't know. I thought it was a really good main event. I like the opener better. That would have been my match of the night. But I mean, the stipulation allows Cassidy to get a win and Cole to keep his perfect record, so that makes sense, right? The outcome is pretty much what I would have expected. And a more aggressive Cassidy than we really see, and the match had some cool spots in it. Again, that final spot ended up looking better than it could have, possibly just the way Cole ended up taking it. So yeah, I enjoyed the match. I don't know if I need all the spots in the ladder match opener and then a lights out match at the end of the show, but I ended up enjoying it, I guess. But I would still say that the opener was my match of the night.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think it definitely was.
Yep.
But yeah, so I thought it was a pretty good main event. And a solid, like, another one of those no DQ style matches, but it fell short of my expectations. For me, that's because they put it as a lights out match.
Right.
AEW does a lot of, like, no DQ or hardcore matches, if you want to call them. But they almost always do them well. I think this was good too. But for me, the lights out matches have always been another step above other, like, no holds barred matches.
Right.
To me, those kind of mean, like, something else, like, as extreme as you can get, not just because they're unsanctioned, but just because of the other two ones that we got, like Mox versus Omega. I remember it was controversial for how violent it was, like, with the barbed wire and stuff. And Baker versus Rosa was one of the best matches of last year.
It was.
So this was good, but not quite up to the lights out standards, in my opinion.
I think the goal was to get Cassidy a quality win. Cole doesn't lose, and they kind of worked backwards from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts on the show as a whole?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. The opener was the match of the night. Like I said, enjoyed the main event. The women's match was pretty bad, and the Wardlow was just the usual squash. And I thought the trios match was good and told a pretty cool story. Punk MJF segment was good overall, but just too long. I liked Black and King's brief promo too. So I thought overall this show was a B+. Not quite in the A range for me. Because a couple of the matches in the middle weren't that great, like the Wardlow and the women's match, but everything else was pretty solid. So a very good B+ for me.
Overall, I think it was a pretty strong show. I mean, at least from matches, they offered a lot. I think the opener made them peak early, as in hindsight, it was definitely my match of the night. Wardlow squash was a squash. The trios match was pretty good, but also pretty much what I expected. Although I would have done the finish a little differently. And also, where the hell is my street sweeper?
True. Love the
sick-ass
street sweeper.
move.
Good point.
B, sick-ass name.
It is.
They don't use it enough, considering how awesome it is.
Right.
So that's just sad. Hirsch versus Velva was our women's match of the week, and it wasn't great. Mediocre at best, and even then, that's probably a bit generous. And the main event was a good match, but didn't warrant being a lights out match. To me, as that actually kind of hurt my opinion of it a little bit, because I feel like now the lights out matches have been held to such a high standard.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but at least I can act like Cole has never lost.
Still, that is right.
So that's what I'm gonna do. As far as promos and segments on the show, there was the fine short Team Taz promo, the Archer Hangman pack, which is fine. The Jurassic Express HFO thing to set up a Rampage match was meh. A long but good Punk MJF segment. It was probably the best segment on the show. Or one of the best, at least. Short segments for the Acclaimed and Varsity Blondes are fine. Really cool promo from the House of Black.
Mm-hmm.
Another favorite for me. And also nice Baker and ring promo, though kind of pointless. Overall, pretty strong show other than the women's match. I can't think of any big detractors. Main event, trios match are solid. Really good opener, I thought. Might be on the low end, but I think I came out with a pretty good feeling from the show. So I'd say I give it like a lower A-.
Nice. That's fair. Like, I was close to it as well, so I think we were pretty similar thoughts on that. But yeah, overall, a very enjoyable Dynamite. So that's going to move us into this week's trivia, which I think is going to be one of the toughest ones we've done, but I've said that before. We'll find out, but we call it Off the Top of His Head. All right, so last week we looked at Royal Rumble winners, which was clearly far too easy for you. So I have
It's the easiest thing known to mankind.
Ramped up the difficulty. So I think you'll struggle mightily on this, but again, I've said that before and I could be wrong. So we are talking about Royal Rumble runners up.
Ooh, okay.
You think you'll do all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so excuse me. I love that, by the way, Booster Juice just magically showed up as we...
And McDonald's.
That's true. You crushed a Big Mac up there?
I did.
Behind the curtain, people.
Yep.
So I thought maybe we'll start with the most recent ones because you probably know those, and we'll see how far back you can go. And then if you
Can I
remember,
just list them off?
if you remember any other specific ones, well, let me give you the year and the winner.
know
All
I
right,
could.
pace ourselves. So let's try. So 2021 men's, the winner was Edge. The runner-up was
Orton.
correct.
I
2020.
just watched that actually like yesterday, I think.
And meanwhile, what was I watching? WrestleMania 4. I'm suffering in a chair trying to sleep, watch some old school wrestling.
I want to suffer more.
2021 women's, the winner was Bianca Belair, and the runner-up was?
Ripley?
Yes.
Yeah.
2020 men's, winner Drew McIntyre, runner-up?
Roman Reigns.
Wow, you
Roman Reigns is going to be in here a lot. I'm telling you right now.
already are doing better than I thought you would. 2020 women's, winner Charlotte Flair, runner-up?
Shayna Baszler.
Your girl, Shayna
That was
Baszler.
so...
You really
she
do know
entered
this.
number 30.
She did.
Ridiculous.
2019 men's, winner Seth Rollins, runner-up?
Braun Strowman.
Correct. Why? I
That
don't
was like
understand.
that's like the only recent time it hasn't been Roman Reigns, pretty much.
2019 women's, winner Becky Lynch, runner-up?
Ooh, Charlotte.
Correct.
Yeah.
2018 men's, winner Shinsuke
Roman Reigns.
Correct.
It's a lot of Roman.
2018 women's, winner Asuka?
Nikki Bella.
Nikki Bella. That's funny.
I
that you
remember
know.
because it was like an apron finish.
Now all the women's are done, so these are all men's going forward. 2017
Roman
winner Randy.
Reigns.
Sorry, just let me finish. Randy Orton's the winner. Runner-up.
Roman Reigns.
2000.
A lot of Roman Reigns.
I know
Tanya.
you've mentioned that. 2016 winner Triple H. Runner-up.
My boy Ambrose.
Correct.
I remember.
Wow. I figured I would be giving hints way before 2015. 2015 winner Roman Reigns. Runner-up.
Rusev.
Why do you know that?
Because I remember you came in from behind and tried to surprise him.
I would have gotten like 0. I mean, maybe I could have guessed one along the way from now. All right. 2014 winner Batista. Runner-up.
Roman Reigns.
Correct. 2013 winner John Cena. Runner-up.
Ryback.
Yes. Why? 2012 Sheamus wins. Runner-up.
Ziggler.
No.
Oh.
You don't know anything.
Orton.
No. Canadian. No longer with the company.
Jericho.
Correct.
Right.
2011 the winner Alberto Del Rio. And that was the 40 man, right?
Yeah, it was.
Runner-up.
Santino.
Correct. 2010 winner Edge. Runner-up.
Ooh. Cena.
Correct. 2009 Orton wins. Runner-up.
Triple H.
Correct. Wow.
Nice.
2008 Cena wins. Runner-up.
Triple H.
Correct. 2007 The Undertaker wins. Runner-up.
I'm thinking Michaels.
Correct. I was going to say
Really?
his greatest
Okay.
feud, probably.
Nice.
2006 winner
I
Rey
wanna
Mysterio.
Say Orton.
Correct.
Yeah.
2005 winner Batista. Runner-up.
Cena.
Correct. Wow. 2004 winner, the man who shall not be named, Chris Benoit. Runner-up.
Big Show.
Correct. My God. If you go all the way to 88, that's disgusting. 2003 winner Brock Lesnar. Runner-up.
Undertaker.
Correct. 2002 winner Triple H. Runner-up.
I want to say Austin, but I don't think that's right. No. Taker?
No.
No, I don't got it.
I argue he's one of the best ever.
Angle.
Kurt Angle's correct.
Yeah.
2001 winner Steve Austin. Runner-up.
Kane.
Correct. 2000 winner The Rock. Runner-up.
Big Show.
Yes. 1999 winner Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Runner-up.
Austin.
Makes sense. That one I probably would have guessed because
Yeah.
they would have booked it that way. We're getting into the Austin run here. So 1998 Austin wins. The runner-up is?
Ooh. I don't know. Rock?
Correct. I was going to
Really?
say the other star of that era.
Okay.
97 winner again is Austin, and the runner-up?
Brett?
Correct.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just...
96 the winner is Shawn Michaels. The runner-up?
was
Makes-
this Bulldog? Or that was, I think that
no.
was the one.
This one makes sense too.
Brett? Is it Brett again?
Nope.
No? Damn it. Trying to think what would make sense.
Think of his big feuds and former partnerships and stuff.
Diesel?
Yep.
Nice.
95 was
That was
Michaels' win.
Bulldog.
That was Bulldog.
So I remember there was like they did the false win because and that was remember Michaels had one foot on the ground, so that
Right.
instituted that both feet must touch the
Both-
floor.
Yes, that's right. 1993 Yokozuna wins, and the runner-up was?
Macho Man because he tried to pin him.
You know, in the early 90s.
Yeah, remember he tried to pin him and then Yokozuna just like pushes him over.
Right. 92 Ric Flair won,
Was it
obviously.
Hogan?
It is not Hogan. Runner-up is...
Taker?
Nope. Large man, though. About that size.
I'm trying to think.
We just talked about him. You watched it. Speaking of horrific injuries.
Oh, Sid.
Correct. 91, winner Hulk Hogan. Runner-up.
Oh,
I hope you don't know these. We got 4 more.
I don't know.
A large lad.
Sid again?
No, heavy. Big boy.
Mabel?
Part
Yoko?
of a tag team with 2 big guys at one point. I don't know if it was this
Mabel?
point. No.
Andre?
No.
I don't know.
A natural disaster?
Oh. Earthquake?
Right.
I guess because I know he feuded with Hogan a bit.
1990, Hulk Hogan won, and the runner-up was one of my favorites, mid-card heels.
Mr. Perfect.
Correct. 1989, Big John Studd wins, and the runner-up...
Duggan?
No. Another one of my favorite mid-card heels.
I don't know.
Who's been on NXT in the last...
DiBiase?
Correct. And the first winner was obviously Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and the runner-up...
One Man Gang.
Correct. The OMG. OMG moment. Okay, so I really thought...
I never thought of that, actually.
I really thought you were going to be stumped like after about 2018, and I would have to help you.
I would probably fare really well by just saying Roman Reigns.
Yet again, you did very well when I wasn't sure you would, so great job. So back to talking about some wrestling, and it's going to be what we just finished before heading down here, full disclosure, and that is this week's episode
Behind the curtain again.
of NXT UK. So this episode starts out with a short video recap of the Dragunov-Devlin feud ahead of the empty arena match that's tonight's main event.
Which they did say was Falls Count Anywhere, which, I mean, I still don't love that it's empty arena, but that does kind of help me, because that reminded me, oh yeah, when they say empty arena, that's kind of the thing that comes with it, because then they can really go anywhere. Because keep in mind, on Halftime Heat, that is what they did with Rock and Mankind, so that actually kind of helped me, like, oh yeah, that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, it is. That's one of the key things. So, what I was talking to you was kind of interesting at the time because there are fans for this show, and then we're saying, like, in theory, all of these people would be made to leave the arena ahead of the most anticipated match on the card, right?
Right,
So
but then I was like, no, it's probably taped, but no, they
you do
actually...
see them walking out
which
later.
I thought was really funny.
So I thought that was kind of funny to
It's
think
like-
about, right? Like, all right, the big match is on. Get out of here, you guys that bought tickets. Time to go.
I think it'd be funny if, like, someone just tried to, like, hide somewhere just to, like, witness the match. That'd be so cool.
That would be what I would try to do, probably.
Yeah, I would do that.
So we go right away to the 6-man tag match between D Familia, which is Teoman, Raja, and Dempsey, right? Taking on
Correct.
Gallus, Wolfgang, and Mark and Joe Coffey. So Joe Coffey and Teoman start out exchanging strikes and kicks. Gallus end up in control of Teoman, and he takes his first opportunity to tag in Raja. And then there was that, you kind of laughed, the botched double monkey flip, just as they talked about how
they were
well
talking about, like,
they work so well as a
I think
team
it was,
or
like,
something.
synergy or...
Oh, it was.
It was something like that, and then they just botched the monkey flip. I was just like,
Yeah.
great timing.
Then we get a distraction from Dempsey on the outside. That allows Raja to take control, and the heels isolate Mark Coffey for quite a while here. We get a missile drop kick to the back of Mark Coffey's head by Teoman. Dempsey comes in, applies a guillotine while sort of driving Mark Coffey into the turnbuckles. Then he lands a back fist and does some pretty interesting arm work on the mat. Raja tags in, levels Mark Coffey with a forearm. We get a back suplex by Mark Coffey, but he can't quite make the tag that he needs to make. Eventually he does tag in Wolfgang, who dominates everybody. He ends up missing a corner splash, and Raja hits a reverse DDT. Joe Coffey finally gets his chance to clean house, does just that, including a diving shoulder tackle and an overhead belly-to-belly suplex to Raja. We get a 180 high cross by Joe Coffey for a near fall, then a backstabber right away from Raja to stop the momentum of Gallus. Dempsey then comes in with a bridging butterfly suplex. We get a high-low by Gallus for 2 that looks pretty good as things kind of break down and there's action all over the place. Wolfgang scoops up Dempsey for, what's the double team move, the finisher they've done?
Sorry, which one?
Right at the end, Wolfgang picks up Dempsey. I think they were about to do you even said...
Fury Power Slam?
That's right.
That's what it was.
But
I don't know if there's a name for
I
that.
think it's Raja pulls Coffey out of the ring, and then Teoman chop blocks Wolfgang from behind,
Right.
and that allows Dempsey to apply
That
his...
STF.
It's like a modified STF where he's like
awesome.
grinding his forearm across
It's
your face.
like-
It looks really cool.
You look at it's the opposite of it's the anti-Cena STF. Like, it's so cool.
And it does look like he's grinding his
exactly. Like, it
forearm
looks
into your
really
face.
nice. Yeah.
And so Wolfgang does tap out and De Familia win this match. I thought it was entertaining. And
I thought it kind of started slow, but it did get into it, right? Which is good.
And it was just a solid back and forth in the beginning, each team sort of getting a chance to isolate the other. And then, the action picks up near the end.
Yeah, which is kind of how you want a match to build, so I'm okay with that.
De Familia having to use heel tactics to pick up a big win because they lost in that mini tag team tournament, right? So I think that made sense.
Tag team tournament.
And Gallus can sort of take a loss here, and it wasn't clean. Sure. It wasn't a clean loss.
I love how they keep referring to it as a tournament. Like, it's just say like I guess. I mean, what else can you call it? But at the same time, that's not a tournament.
So I thought it was a good start to the show, actually.
But... Yeah, I liked it. I feel like it could have, like, maybe if there was a little more time, could have picked up a bit more. But I think it was generally, like, pretty good. A good TV opener. Like I said, started kind of slow, but definitely got into it. And, it was good.
Yep. We then get Carter and Smith. What is it? Ashton Smith and... I forget
Oliver Carter.
Oliver Carter. They're talking about having much more experience as a team than Mastiff and Stars, because they're going to face them next in is that the finals of it, right? Of the mini tournament. And that it is basically their time to win.
I find it really weird because neither of these teams seem like, they keep saying, 2 years for Oliver and Carter and Smith, but I'm like, really? Is it? And like, also like,
it is, but a lot
neither of them have tag team names, and neither of them seem like legit.
And Carter and Smith, it was a lot of them being like enhancement talent, basically.
Exactly.
Right? So, Mastiff,
I hardly call that experience.
They cut to Mastiff speaking. He doesn't want Jack Stars to take Carter and Smith lightly. He says that he knows Ashton Smith really well and taught him everything he knows about tag team wrestling, which I was not aware of or had forgotten. Then we cut back to Smith, who admits that Mastiff taught him a lot, but that he has learned a ton more since then. Jack Stars kind of wraps it up, saying that Smith and Carter better bring everything because they're going to need it. So I don't know. I thought it was a solid, like, straightforward promo, right, from both teams.
Yeah, I thought it was, like, reminiscent of, like, the AEW back and forth one.
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite as good, but, like, as good as they're going to get. I think they're really, their pre-produced things are pretty well done, considering how, like, small of a show this is. Like, obviously, it's still WWE producing them, but, like...
No, they do a good job.
They always put in a good amount of effort into
And I did like the reminder of Smith and Mastiff having history together, because, again, I either don't remember or didn't know.
That team doesn't really click for me. Just really doesn't work for me. And Odd Couple tag teams are just done to death.
I'm starting to like Carter quite a bit. We'll see.
I don't mind them. I still don't love either of the teams because they really don't feel like tag title quality.
Yeah. And maybe they're not.
I don't know how many teams they have, really, right?
They could be just placeholders for now.
I honestly would have rathered probably a pretty deadly rematch.
They don't seem realistic to beat Mustache Mountain, right?
Exactly.
Either of them. But anyways, Devlin's quickly shown warming up backstage, and then we get Ginny taking on Amal, which I've enjoyed the build, like simple build to this over the past few weeks.
I didn't even know we were getting this week. Right. I don't remember them advertising.
So we get holds encounters to start. Both women are looking pretty aggressive, right?
Sorry, I did think it was kind of interesting because, like, usually this is the squash match sector, right?
Yes.
So you kind of, like, all these matches are at least, like,
competitive,
legitimate matches.
You're right. Usually there's
less,
one,
right?
like, enhancement wedged in the middle here.
Right.
So we get a strike exchange before some stiff knees to Amal's midsection. Body slam didn't look great by Amal, and a sliding kick to the head that looked better. Stomps and some arm targeting by Ginny then. Amal tries to fire up, but Ginny keeps hold of her arm to maintain the advantage. Amal finally lands a flurry, ending in a sunset flip, but Ginny pulls her hair to stop the momentum before going back to more knees to the midsection. We get a cool-looking octopus submission applied by Ginny, but Amal counters it with a hip toss eventually. Wasn't the cleanest-looking spot either, but it was okay. Kicks and clotheslines by Amal before a running boot to Ginny seated in the corner. Northern Lights with a bridge by Amal, and she goes for the Hope Breaker. But Ginny avoids it, then rains down some elbow strikes and pins Amal in the corner by putting her feet up on the second ropes.
I was thinking it would be funny if they had an empty arena match, and then she can take away all of her hope, because fans.
Hope broken.
Yes.
What did you think of this one?
Breaker. I thought it was all right. I don't know. I think I was like probably half watching it, but I knew that Ginny won right already, so which I thought was odd, but I guess the feet on the ropes makes sense.
Prolongs things, I guess.
So I don't know if they're just gonna. I feel like another standard match would be kind of weird, but I feel like they'll just probably do that. But I think it was solid. Probably like worst match on the show because the other two matches are much bigger.
Right.
But I mean, compared to like some of the squashes, I liked it because as like the middle of the show match. Right?
Yep. And I think commentary helped out a bit because they pointed out how Ginny's been saying, well, she had a similar upbringing too, right? Like immigrant parents and a struggle sort of thing. And then commentary pointed out, but the difference was Ginny had money, right? Her family had money, so that would have made her time easier because she's trying to say like Amal and I are the same, but I don't whine and moan and make it a big deal, right? So I was impressed with Ginny, which I was hoping to be. I thought like her offense is pretty simple, but it looks aggressive and kind of vicious the way she delivers it. Even her stomps and stuff look a little extra than what most people do. I think Amal still needs some work, as some of her stuff looked a bit awkward here, but she definitely has potential. I think the finish made sense, but I thought the referee looked kind of stupid, right, for not noticing, because the way she was lined up, it was like looking directly at them. And I don't know how she didn't notice Ginny climbing up on the ropes at the end, but I actually thought the match was pretty good. And I'm assuming, like you, the finish indicates we're getting more of this, right? So I guess you're right. It's normally some sort of enhancement match here, so this was far better than that, so I was happy with it. So next week, we learn that we're going to be getting a Japanese street fight with Meiko Satomura defending the NXT UK.
Yeah, and I was thinking it'd be funny if it's just all kendo sticks.
I'm wondering, that was one of my questions, is what does a Japanese street fight look like? What does that mean? But anyways, probably nothing. So she's getting a rematch with Blair Davenport, wants another shot at the title. So we get highlights from their first match and the post-match attack by Davenport after she lost. Davenport speaks, says she will show Meiko how cold-hearted she can get. She, not the final boss, stood tall after their last match, although you lost, Davenport. I don't know if that's details, I guess. Meiko says that the last time was a competition. This time it's a fight. Back to Davenport. She says she's the rightful heir to the championship and isn't afraid of a street fight. Meiko,
I feel like that's a weird turn of phrase, because how is she the heir? Like, what way is she the heir?
It's just her way of saying she deserves it, I guess.
I think it's just weird, because I feel like heir would be like, Meiko dies, you're related to her. Like, I don't know. Like, something like that. I don't see how she's,
I think
like,
she's trying to imply she's royal and important.
I do get what
she's
she's saying, but, like, I feel like that's not the best phrasing.
It's not working for you.
Yeah.
Meiko says last time she beat Davenport.
That is true.
This time she will destroy her.
With the kendo stick.
I thought it was an effective back and forth kind of hype package ahead of their rematch. I don't know what a Japanese street fight is. I like that they keep Meiko's stuff short. I thought this was a good little package. I don't know. Standard for UK. It's always good.
So this is a Japanese street fight, correct?
Yes.
And WWE is not against using swords, as we've seen.
Right. Some katanas are coming out.
Yeah, we got some katanas.
Well, I mean,
kendo sticks, katanas. What's another Japanese weapon thing?
What we're protected by is that Vince
throwing stars.
Vince doesn't even know UK exists, so he won't get his racist fingers on this match.
That's true.
So that's otherwise it could be real
Nigerian drum fight.
Right. Right. So as we mentioned, they do show us then fans leaving the arena ahead of the main event, which we thought was kind of funny.
That's really funny.
And then they quickly cut to Dragunov getting ready backstage. And then a quick Nathan Frazier, he's backstage being asked about his loss to Walter last week.
Remember, you're supposed to say weird. It's Fraser.
Fraser.
It's so weird.
Losing to Walter, who they called Walter, didn't they? Or did they even mention his name? I can't remember.
I don't know. I think they said, I don't know, actually.
I don't know either. They might not have said his name at all. As he starts to answer, he's interrupted by Di Familia, who asks what he's doing in their locker room. Fraser tries to congratulate them, but Di Familia don't really want to talk to a loser. So Fraser leaves as the heels toast to drink their victory. So it looks like that's the next direction for Di Familia. I don't know which one of them.
I don't know if they faced off before. I feel like they could have, but I really would love Dempsey versus Fraser. I think that would be so interesting.
Any of them, actually, I would be interested to see.
Yeah.
We then get Andy Shepard, I guess the commentator guy. He's in the ring in the darkened arena.
Is that his name? I feel like I
think
should know that.
So he's there explaining that, as you said, the empty arena stipulation means no DQ and falls count anywhere. And then that leads us to the main event, Jordan Devlin versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship. This one starts off surprisingly right away.
Oh, yeah. Devlin just headbutts him.
During the intro.
I love the way he does headbutts. It's so different. Yeah.
So, again, I've really enjoyed the build to this. Each of them got a really cool vignette along the way. So Devlin, a sick-looking headbutt as Dragunov is just raising the title during the introductions. So, of course, the ref has to go and ask Dragunov if he wants to fight, and Dragunov says no, and it's over. No, just kidding.
No, but babyfaces are dumb, so he says yes.
Dragunov, of course, agrees to carry on. So he's furious right out of the gate, lands 2 German suplexes, goes for a third, but Devlin holds on to the ropes and lands a mule kick low blow. Devlin ties Dragunov up in the ropes there, slaps him and taunts him, goes and gets a chair. but I think Dragunov kicks away the chair. So then Devlin goes back out and gets a screwdriver, right? And he kicks away the screwdriver and finally escapes the ropes and clotheslines Devlin to the floor. We get chops and a back suplex to Devlin on the apron and a body slam on the floor. A bunch more fighting on the floor. Dragunov lands a stiff clothesline and more chops and whips into the barricade. Devlin runs Dragunov into the steps, then that finally turns the tide in this one. Dragunov shoulder tackles Devlin through the barricade a bit later and throws him into some chairs. We get Devlin using a chair. Oh, no, actually, Dragunov first gets a chair shot to Devlin. He then suplexes Devlin over the barricade onto a pile of chairs for a near fall. Dragunov then, as they're kind of starting to fight backstage now, runs Devlin into a table that has like a desktop computer set up on it. Dragunov dives through a table, right? I guess the idea was he was going for the Moscow torpedo? Is that what it's called?
Torpedo Moscow.
Right.
Come on, you're so close.
And that Devlin missed, and he just kind of dove through the table. He then, Devlin slams Dragunov between two road cases. You thought that looked good, eh? Like his head actually kind of bounced off of the case.
Yeah.
Because there's this story going through that Devlin attacked Dragunov's eyes early, right? And he keeps going back to the face and eyes in this.
That was actually a running thing. Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah.
Yeah, so he hits a thumb to the eyes here, and then Devlin hits a moonsault off of one of the cases onto Dragunov. We get back to the ring eventually, and Devlin lands a chair shot to Dragunov's back.
I think they did, like, when they were not in the ring, I think they did, like, I think they made good use of it. Like, it wasn't really, like, boring. And then
no, it wasn't just punch,
they weren't there for too long either, right?
Yeah. No, it was pretty well done.
They actually did stuff, right? Yeah.
Vicious elbows by Dragunov turn the tide. He suplexes Devlin onto a chair. We then get a chair to the legs that knocks Dragunov off the top. Looks like he got whacked right in the shins with it, right? It probably hurt. And then Devlin hits the Devlin side, which looks cool all the time, for a near fall. Dragunov avoids a second Devlin side through a table, counters it with like a running Death Valley driver to Devlin through a table that's kind of leaning in the corner. So Dragunov then is like setting up for his finisher again, and then he starts to sell like some eye issues. Devlin is taunting him and then hits a really nice looking brainbuster for a near fall. Devlin then goes and gets zip ties from ringside, like really long ones, whips Dragunov with them a few times, and then ties Dragunov hands behind his back.
He should have used handcuffs, because as we know, they're very tough to open.
Right? They're very easy to use. Devlin hits him with a chair, and then we do get the Torpedo Moscow with the hands bound behind his back. Dragunov sort of drags his body.
I thought that was kind of cool. I saw that coming, but I still thought it was cool.
Drags his body onto Devlin to get the pinfall victory here.
Oh, I noticed something.
Yeah.
We got the WrestleMania X7 poster. It was on April 1st, right?
Yep.
Which is April Fool's Day. So you know how Austin turned heel on that show?
Yep.
He could have just been like, April Fool's.
Just kidding,
like,
still a face.
Or like, he's like a face, and then he's like, April Fool's, I'm a heel now. You know?
Could have.
Sorry, just noticed that.
That's all right.
That's funny.
This was a very lengthy, really physical match.
Yeah, it was good.
To nitpick it, like, I didn't love the lack of a crowd. I think a crowd would have added some energy to this.
Yeah,
and again, we just came out of
I did enjoy them. Like, because you could just use all the chairs.
Yes.
Which is sick.
But we just came out of a no crowd era, so
I would love for them to, like, because, you know, Raw and SmackDown are usually in decent size.
Yeah.
Because they do an empty arena match. You just make the biggest ass chair pile, and you just, like, do something on there. That would be the best. Just a tsunami of chairs.
Sure. I would have been happy with these two having, like, an epic competitive standard match, because they don't need a lot of weapons. They're so good in the ring, both of these guys. But still, like, I don't want to take away from this. These guys killed themselves and each other in this match.
No, it was still really good. I think they would have had a great match regardless.
Yeah, I found it really entertaining regardless. I just think with the crowd there to respond, I probably would have loved it a little bit more than I did. Definitely a very good match, no doubt. Dragunov is just amazing as this resilient fighter who takes a ridiculous amount of punishment and just never stops.
Just even, like, his, like, sounds or like whatever he's saying,
intensity is crazy.
He's really good. I used to hate it with like the contact and whatnot, but honestly I really like him now. He's really good. Yeah.
And Devlin is really good as this violent, relentless heel, right, who just doesn't care. So a very good to excellent main event. Hurt a bit by the stipulation for me. I just would have loved a crowd reaction to it, but definitely a cool match. You agree?
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, and like we said, like when they went backstage, it didn't really hurt it because they actually did stuff, right?
Yeah, they kept the pace up, and
they didn't just rely on like punches and stuff, and then like maybe like a table bump or something. They did do that, but I thought it was funny how just Dragunov basically jumped through it.
Yeah.
But it worked, and I think they did like a lot of cool stuff. They incorporated like some good weapon use. And yeah, it would have helped to have a crowd, but I think they did a really good job despite not having that. I think it was really good. And so yeah, like a good way to end the show. Yeah.
Yeah, they're another like really enjoyable episode of NXT
Yeah, I was
UK,
gonna say
right?
because like I think all three matches delivered at least like a decent amount.
Yep.
Some more than others, of course, but like I think overall it was really good. And like the tag team segment was all right, and then the Satomura Davenport one.
Yeah. So if you had to throw a grade
great.
quickly,
Since
you're
give
wrapping
that
up.
like I don't know, I almost maybe even I'll be nice. I'll give it an A minus because
Yeah.
there's nothing really wrong with the show.
I agree with you. All three matches, I enjoyed them for what they were, right? And the segments were solid too. I don't agree with Nigel because he's going off the air sort of saying that this was a match of the year contender. I don't think it was quite at that level.
Maybe
but
for their brand.
Yeah, it was an excellent, brutal match, right? That made both of these guys look great. So I would say an A minus show this week as well. And I'm glad
especially by their standards
that we've settled into UK because it's been an enjoyable show.
It definitely like surprised me in a good way.
And an hour is so easy to get through, right?
Yes, I miss the days of short NXT. I mean, when it went 2 hours, it was still really good at times, but I mean, hours definitely.
I think 90 minutes would be perfect, but no one will ever do that.
Right.
They always want to book a full hour.
They totally could on the network, right?
They could. They could do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
all right, so that wraps up NXT UK, and we're going to get into talking about some other wrestling stuff in any other wrestling business. All right, so I'm quickly going to run through NXT 2.0, and then we'll get to a Royal Rumble preview, yeah?
Yes.
So NXT starts out with a close-up of the Dusty Cup trophy, and then the camera pulls back. We see that MSK are on either side of it. So they talk about debuting during the Dusty Cup last year and winning the whole thing. Lee goes to almost touch the cup. Carter stops him. As we all know, that is the kiss of death. He can't do that, which is fair.
You can't touch the cup. You can't unhook the briefcase. You can't raise the title.
Right. Carter stops him. Their music hits. They head to the ring, and the opener is MSK versus Jacket Time in a Dusty Cup quarterfinal match.
Jacket Time.
So this is a fast pace right away, but Lee goes for that Superman diving pinfall thing, and he misses it and has to like walk himself backwards to get it, which was a little bit awkward. Then Jacket Time with combination running palm strikes and jacket punches in the corner. Carter hits a nice flurry to Jiro, ending with a running shooting star press that looked good. Jiro a bit later hits a crunchy to Lee for a near fall, which is what Chuck Taylor does that one, right? Jacket Time miscommunication leads to Jiro missing a senton. Kushida counters the shoving moonsault move into a hoverboard lock, which was pretty cool. But then MSK right after that basically hits their, the blockbuster spinebuster finisher for the win in about 11 and a half minutes. Honestly, this was like a classic sprint. Very fun sprint of an opener. I would say the crowd is really into it, but I honestly can't tell how much of the crowd noise is organic and how much is piped in, right?
You can't really say that anymore.
No, it seemed like the crowd was hyped, and they probably were because it was a really fast, fun match. It was a million miles an hour the whole time. I thought it was a good opener for the show. We then go backstage, and it's Io and Zoe Stark talking. Zoe says she won't be healed and ready for the Dusty Cup. She wants Io to find a new partner, but Io doesn't want one. So, which I found was interesting, right? Because Io's always like, I don't like you. I don't like you.
Yeah, but I guess they're already...
And she doesn't like anyone. I don't know.
So, like, at least she knows her.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Stark did point that out. Like, she's kind of like, oh, you're starting to like me, huh? So it's not like they didn't address that kind of issue there. But Tiffany Stratton walks up, mocks Zoe Stark's outfit, and says she'll beat Io one-on-one tonight. Okay, Tiffany Stratton. And then
funny.
The segment ends with Io angrily speaking in Japanese as Stratton walks off. So I don't think Stratton or Stark are very good on the mic, but this was super short. And again, they sort of cleared up the disconnect of Io not wanting to ditch Zoe, even though of weeks and weeks of saying she doesn't like Zoe. So they did address it at least, which I liked.
She doesn't like her, but she knows her.
Likes her better than everyone else, I guess. That's reasonable.
I
don't like anyone, but I like...
Right. No, yeah.
I dislike you less.
I dislike you the least.
Right. So Grimes then talks about Tony D'Angelo ahead of their match tonight. He said, tonight we'll see who the bigger, tougher man is. Grimes will drop D'Angelo off in Little Italy because Grimes is on his way to Vengeance Day to face Carmelo Hayes to take the North American Championship to
it's NXT Vengeance
moon.
Day, which is just...
Right.
They're taking the TakeOver names and just removing TakeOver, which... I hate it because it sounds so weird, but I also don't hate it because now takeovers are saved.
That brand is sacred. Do not mess with it.
Exactly.
So this one, there was still a reference to Grimes and the millionaire gimmick because I don't know if you remember last week, but D'Angelo started listing all of his friends, and I think Grimes was saying his friends were all the faces on money as he was showing money. But anyways, so I thought it was a solid Grimes promo, and a little more subtle, but still doing the redneck millionaire gimmick.
Yeah.
Legado are in the ring to speak, and it's Escobar cutting a promo on Braun Breaker. He's basically annoyed that people consider Breaker a big star already. I think you're going to agree with Escobar all the way here.
He's runner-up for PWI rookie.
Oh, nice. He says that he and Braun have similar backgrounds, but Escobar is not impressed or intimidated by Breaker. Escobar despises Braun and how he's been given so many opportunities, and that he got the NXT championship before Escobar did. This obviously brings out Braun Breaker. He walks to the ring. Braun thinks Escobar is great, but insecure, and that he needs the rest of his group, while Braun was taught to handle his business himself. He tells Escobar, you just got to issue the challenge, and he will accept it. Escobar says he'll do it when it's time, and Braun will know when it's time, and then he just sort of leaves the ring. Wilde and Mendoza then try to hop back in and sneak attack Braun, but of course, Braun Breaker easily fights them off and stands tall. So I like this. I liked Escobar's heel rationale, right? Like, basically, like, I'm sort of never had this championship and you just show up and you're given all these opportunities. Like, it kind of makes sense to me. So I like that. It felt realistic, right? On a show that is often very cartoonish to me. So a little bit of reality was nice. I liked it.
That's new for them.
Right? We get a Boa Sikoa vignette where Boa talks about once he harnesses his powers, he'll be unstoppable. And then we're shown some highlights of his issues with Sikoa, the fireball, and all of that kind of stuff. Sikoa gets a brief comment here. He doesn't care where or how, but he has his war paint on, which he does have some face paint tonight, and he's ready to fight. Then we do get Solo Sikoa versus Boa in a no DQ match. So Boa attacks Sikoa immediately with kendo sticks as Sikoa is making his entrance still. Boa then fills the rings with chairs and a garbage can, but gets caught with a Samoan drop as he re-enters the ring. Boa repeatedly hits Sikoa with a chair. We get a butterfly suplex to Sikoa onto a trash can that actually looked quite good. Then they start to brawl backstage. Boa uses a ladder to hit Sikoa until Sikoa turns the tide and tackles the ladder up against Boa into, I think there was like a rolling garage door that gets very dented, and then a bit later in it, it's funny because they damage this garage door, but part of the match is that Boa is supposed to open the garage door, but he struggles because it's been like damaged, so I don't think they planned for that. But as he does that, he gets a fire extinguisher blast into his face. They head back to the ring. Boa is run into 3 chairs that are set up in the corner and then takes a super kick. We get a top rope splash by Sikoa through a table on the floor that looked pretty good, and Sikoa, no surprise, picks up the win after about 8 minutes. I thought it was about as good as you could expect from these two in the time they were given. This isn't my favorite type of match generally, but I thought these two worked pretty well together, and the stipulation, for me, I think, helped hide some of Boa's limitations, I think. So a solid hardcore match with the expected result, but, like, where do you go with Boa now? Because this was face paint Boa, right? So this is like...
He was face paint
and he
Boa.
lost decisively. So are they going to go with he just hasn't harnessed the power yet, I guess, is what they're going to say? Because in theory, he's supposed to be in the face paint with the soul of Mei Ying, and he got beat decisively. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with him. But the match itself was about as good as you could expect, I guess. Promo from Imperium where Walter says... Did you hear this, his explanation?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, that the name he's used has been from his grandfather, but he's moving into the future with his own name and identity, so hence ditching the Walter name, I guess. They're moving into a new age with a future led by a man who will spread fear and pain through WWE. Gunther. I thought it's kind of like... Maybe lazy's too strong of a word, but it's close to that, right? Like, oh, that wasn't my real name. This is my real name. At least they tried to explain it, I guess, in some way, but whatever. Duke Hudson versus Guru Raj is next. So Hudson is super aggressive right out of the gate and wins a squash with a razor's edge where he doesn't release the guy. So it's like a razor's edge, and then he seems to add some force by grabbing you around the waist too. It kind of looked cool. After the match, Dante Chen comes out to the ramp, says that he's giving Hudson the respect that Hudson didn't give Chen last week.
Because he's an idiotic babyface.
Babyfaces are stupid. He heads to the ring, and Hudson quickly attacks Chen's recently healed leg, of course. So I know this was a squash, but at least it's further evidence that the poker gimmick is gone for Duke Hudson, which is...
No, it was on his Tron. I saw it on his Tron.
But he's not...
Still said Duke's Poker Room.
He's not dressed or doing anything with it, so I think it's slowly just dissolving, hopefully for his sake anyways. And he does look really aggressive the last couple of weeks, so I fully approve of a reboot if that's what this is. And I'd have to say Chen is pretty comfortable on the mic compared to a lot of NXT young talent at this point. So Mackenzie's backstage with Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. Persia likes Duke's new aggressive side. Here we go. But Indy ironically tells her to focus.
Aren't they both Australian or whatever?
Oh, yeah, that's probably true.
I think so.
Persia says that Indy's been training her butt off recently and they're one step closer to winning the championships. Kaylee Ray comes in, talks about how Toxic Attraction don't deserve their titles. Jack agrees. Tonight...
Jack agrees?
Yeah, that's
What?
you. You agree.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I do.
Tonight, they will stake their claim to Toxic Attraction's titles. Ray says the next photo shoot Toxic Attraction does will be without those titles. So I just really hope Persia Pirotta's not entering into a romance angle with Hudson, right? Like, it seems like we're just getting away from some of those. But I don't know. Maybe they feel the need to constantly have some sort of romance on the go. But the rest...
Yeah, well, I mean, right, because Index is done, thank God.
Yep.
The Legato one, done. So this one's next.
Right.
And then...
Feels like
it. Then we also go to Carter and Catanzaro versus... And
Jensen.
And the Rednecks.
That's right. So the rest of this promo was fine. I don't know. It was decent anyways. Mackenzie then asks why Santos didn't accept Braun Breaker's challenge. Mendoza and Wilde take over instead and complain about being taken out by Braun. So Escobar says Breaker made a mistake and they're going to have to fight him 2-on-1 unless he can find a friend, which is highly unlikely. So Santos says Breaker's growing pains will continue.
It'd be funny if they recited this from NXT UK. Haha. That'd be funny.
Because this is like the formulaic build, right? So now before you guys meet, that got to meet in a tag team. But it was fine, I guess. Standard stuff, but nothing bad compared to some things they've done in the past. We then get Indy Hartwell, Persia Pirotta, and Kaylee Ray taking on all three of Toxic Attraction. So it starts out with Mandy Rose avoiding facing off with Kaylee Ray, of course. Then we get basic stuff to start with Toxic...
I just thought Kaylee Ray's probably going to do the job.
Of course she is. Basic stuff with Toxic Attraction getting control of Indy early. Suplex by Rose, and she cheap shots Kaylee Ray off the apron. Breaker, clothesline combo by Indy and Pirotta. Kaylee Ray sent off the top onto Toxic Attraction. A senton off the top onto Toxic Attraction on the floor. The heels isolate Hartwell for quite a while after that, and eventually Pirotta gets the hot tag. Things break down. Kaylee Ray grabs her bat, but misses Rose, hitting the steps and the ring post. Chases Mandy Rose up the ramp away from the ring, and they are gone from the match. We get a kick, and it's the sit-out TKO is what I call it, by Persia Pirotta for the win. 13.5 minutes, which is probably a bit too long for this. I thought it was just okay. Jane and Dolan do some good things, but they also seem to have their issues at times, and they were in control of the bulk of like the middle of this match, and not everything they do looks super clean to me. Textbook WWE booking again, with the faces earning the title shot by beating the champs in like a trios match. Pretty standard stuff. I don't think it was a bad match, but it wasn't great, and at 13 minutes I felt like it was a bit lengthy. We then get a quick vignette about Idris Inafe and Malik Blade. Blade can't believe they're in the semis, and Inafe says they could go all the way. Inafe says, then Malik can ask out Mandy Rose if they win.
What?
Yeah, here we go. You need romance. Blade is,
so
but
bad.
I felt this was coming off as more like jokey, not like it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
So Blade is skeptical, but Inoue points out that they didn't have a chance to make it this far in the tournament, and then he runs down all the upset wins they've had. He says it's time to keep grinding, and after that, win the NXT Tag Team titles and ask out Mandy. Blade says they'll see. Inoue says if he asks out Mandy, Inoue will ask out Gigi and JC. So we're gonna get a thruple. So I actually enjoy these. I enjoy these guys a little bit, and I never thought that I would. They work together for me, and this was kind of amusing, even though they're hinting at romance. But I don't think it's anything serious because I don't think super baby faces are going to be dating mega heels, right? So I think this was.
Yeah, Mandy's definitely not going to want to Malik Blade. Come on.
So I think this was more for comedic effect than any sort of future story. So I was okay with it. Earlier today, we see Cora Jade walks up to Raquel Gonzalez while she's working out with some pretty heavy weight and asks again about teaming up with Raquel for the Dusty Cup. Raquel says no again. Cora says...
Why is the women's one so far behind?
I don't know.
It's weird.
Jade asks if she needs to lift the same weight that Gonzalez was lifting.
Maybe they don't want to overload it.
I guess. Raquel says Cora isn't ready for the Dusty tournament, and Cora says that she is. Yes, because it would be all tag team matches, and Vince and them don't want that.
That would suck.
So they keep talking back and forth. Cora says to let her prove it and tries to slap Gonzalez. So this looks like it might be coming to a head. But Gonzalez grabs her hand and says, "Don't push me." So I like Gonzalez. She came across as kind of intimidating here by the end. Cora Jade still needs work on the mic and in the ring, everywhere basically. But she's definitely getting reps in every week, right? Like she's on the show every week. So hopefully she can get better. Dusty Cup match. Grizzled Young Veterans taking on Andre Chase and the head of the class student, which is Bodie Hayward. I
think Bodie is such a bad name.
It's like a surfer dude name to me. I don't know if that was the plan.
It's like, just do Brody or choose something better.
Oh, eventually they will, I'm sure. Eventually he'll be down to one name. So Chase and Hayward...
No, I meant Brody instead of Bodie.
Oh, Brody. Chase and Hayward isolate Drake early, with the rookie tagging it really quickly each time. It becomes pretty clear that he is not very experienced at all. He's got a good look. He actually reminds me of like a young Billy Gunn. Blind tag to Gibson
that's a real compliment.
Sets up a spike shoulder breaker to Chase on the floor as the heels take over the match. Hot tag to Hayward.
Like a spike pile driver but a shoulder breaker, right? That sounds weird.
A hot tag to Hayward, who... basic stuff, but he catches Gibson out of the air and slams him. Distraction by Drake allows Gibson to hit a throat chop on Hayward, and the heels knock Chase off the apron. I think it was a drop kick by Drake, and they hit a double code breaker instead of the ticket to mayhem. Boo.
Which is a sick move.
Right.
Dude,
I don't know, it's like, is Hayward not ready to take it maybe? Like,
yeah, like, remember Gibson did like the weird, like, I think it was like out of the, like, he's like, the guy's like sitting on him and then he does like the twisting suplex, and then he does like the 450 splash.
Right.
And he got the ticket to mayhem.
Ticket to mayhem is sweet. I was
got
disappointed.
A crap load of sick tag moves, and
they did.
I remember I should watch that match when they won the tag titles.
You like that?
That's why James Drake's my boy.
So GYV pick up the win here in 5 minutes. Pretty quick match. I thought
5 minutes.
I didn't love, but I mean it's more of what they've been doing. Drake looked weak to start because he just got dominated by the baby faces for a bit.
Wow.
So I didn't love that, but at least the veterans picked up the win here because they've been made to look pretty weak since
the veterans, like,
since the rebirth of
in their name and because they're veterans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hayward is clearly really, really new, so they kept his involvement really brief, which is probably smart. Again, reminds me of Billy Gunn. I thought it was an okay 5-minute match. With Chase and Hayward are baby faces now, I guess, because the crowd was kind of behind them.
I guess because it's like, or there's also the
there is the
Chase
section.
University section,
yes,
right?
there is.
Or maybe it's because like they're, I don't know. You could probably swing that into a babyface thing if you want. I just think it kind of works better as a heel.
I think even further evidence that they are baby faces is after the match, Von Wagner comes to the ring, takes out Bodie Hayward, then gets Chase on his shoulder for a Death Valley driver. Robert Stone steps in the ring, hands Wagner a suit jacket, and as I expected, and I think you did too, Robert Stone has paid Wagner's fine and got him reinstated. I get the paying the fine, but how do you get...
Exactly.
Maybe he paid a bribe, I guess, would be a possibility.
So he paid more money?
Right. For a blue chipper.
So you basically got your great value, Heyman and Lesnar.
That's right.
And I...
Dollarama.
Yes, and I use that, like, very... literally, like, he's just worst.
Stone says Wagner's reinstated and under new management. So it makes sense, right? Robert Stone can talk. Von Wagner can't. So this combination is logical.
Von Wagner can't do a lot of things.
It can only help Wagner going forward, I think. And maybe we'll get to see a serious Robert Stone instead of just the absolute comedy afterthought that he's been, because he's capable of better, for sure.
Yeah.
Grayson Waller.
I remember when he was with Chelsea Green and it was decent, then it just descended into garbage.
I remember him as a tag team with
all right, well,
a reality TV guy. I forget his name now. Anyways, Grayson Waller cuts a promo saying LA Knight thought he had him in his sights, but he's better than ever and has one of the biggest stars in Bollywood as his secret service. He says he wants to make sure Knight reads the restraining order properly, sort of implying that Knight might struggle with some of the big words, because it would be a shame if he ended up in jail. If Knight gets around the restraining order, Waller will be waiting, but his muscle will be waiting to meet him first. Would you be able to quickly look up the new guy's name? Because I didn't catch it. I think they mentioned it.
I actually saw him on WWE.com. That's funny. When we were doing the Rumble thing.
Because I didn't catch what it was.
I actually did see. I think it's Sangha.
So Waller,
Sanga.
that sounds close. Waller's a really good
Sandra?
heel, and they shot this from a low camera angle, so it made his enforcer
Of course they did.
look humongous. And again, I mentioned earlier, I've seen a rumor that Knight is shortlisted for the main roster, so hopefully he puts Waller over on the way out would be nice, because I kind of like Waller.
The thing, right?
Yeah, it is. Then we get an update. Odyssey Jones has suffered a ruptured, I think it was patella tendon in his knee and is out for a while. I really hope that they use that time to like change his character, right? And bring
it's Sanga. I don't know how you're gonna pronounce. I think it's Sanga, but that's how it's spelled. So
I'm hoping they bring Jones back as like a monster instead of like the happy baby face that has not worked for me at all so far. So
he still sucks.
I don't think he's good in the ring, but we then get, speaking of good in the ring, it's Tiffany Stratton taking on Io Shirai. So Stratton uses
You were talking about Stratton, right? 'Cause she's really good.
She's amazing. Stratton uses her athleticism early to avoid Io, sends Io Shirai to the floor. Io hits a flapjack and a shotgun dropkick for a 2 count. Hair pull off of a rope break gives Stratton the advantage, and she applies a submission chokehold of some type. We get the tumbling corner clothesline by Stratton that she actually hit this time. It looked way better than the last time she attempted it, so that's something. Palm strike, running double knees, body slam, and a moonsault for the Io Shirai win in just over 4 minutes. And I mean, for a 4-minute match, this was fine. Stratton didn't make any really noticeable glaring mistakes this week. She kept things pretty simple. Io gets a convincing win, and Stratton didn't embarrass herself. So I think that's basically all you could hope for from this. Malcolm Bivens then, he's speaking mocking the name of Gunther and says it should be dumbass. He says it's not a new beginning for Imperium.
I would mock the name too, but that's not a very nice name to call him.
It's not a new beginning for Imperium. It's the beginning of the end. The Creeds will take the tag titles. Roddy Strong will chop him down to size, and Ivy Nile will stretch him. He proposes a 6-man tag match for next week.
Now, while I don't agree with them being up Imperium, I do agree that name's the beginning of the end.
Creeds, I hope not. Creeds call Imperium European Pretty Boys, and Roddy says that no one works harder than him, and Walter's last win over Roddy will never happen again. So as always, great work by Bivens, subpar work by the other ones, but that's kind of what you expect
here,
right?
That about Roddy.
Roddy's awful.
You dare.
I love Roddy, but man, he's never learned to speak in 20 whatever years of wrestling.
You love Roddy, but you also don't like Roddy.
Right. The main event is up next, but first Trick and Mello are there to introduce... Oh, buddy, I forgot about
Ollie
this.
J.
Have you heard anything about this? This is something else.
I saw that happen.
They introduce Ollie J, who performs the NXT theme song "Make 'Em Fall." And
is she a wrestler, or is she
I don't know what she's doing. She's a music person, I think, but
a music person.
She shouldn't be. Not to be rude.
What's like another bad music performance you can think of? Bad Bunny?
She doesn't sound good, and she has zero charisma and presence. It looks like she didn't want to be there. I would actually recommend you watch it at some point just to see how bad it is. So they, as she's performing, quote unquote, not to be rude, they mix in sort of clips of D'Angelo and Grimes as she's doing her thing. So it was really bad. It was the low point on the show, but kind of like so bad it was funny kind of territory. So I don't know. So D'Angelo is then backstage. He says he'll beat Grimes and go on to challenge Hayes for the North American title. Tiffany Stratton's backstage on her phone complaining to Daddy about the referee. She says, hold on, walks up to Wendy Chu, who says that Stratton shouldn't feel bad because everybody loses to Io. Tiffany slaps Wendy's drink out of her hand, calls her a freak, and walks off. Wendy says she's not a freak, just comfortable.
Wait, she likes to sleep? What a freak.
Right? Well, I think it's more like you wear a onesie to wrestle and like a sleep mask.
Okay, yeah,
That's a little bit weird. So honestly, this was a few seconds long, and just to further establish what we already know about these two, I had no problem with it. It was quick. Main event time.
Rich girl versus sleepy girl. Sleepy, like, lazy, not beautiful girl. Oh my god, that's so dumb.
Cameron Grimes taking on Tony D'Angelo for a North American title shot. And I am really, really torn on Tony D'Angelo because this is yet another like impressive in-ring performance from this guy who has one of the weakest characters I could imagine. So I don't know what to think about him. But anyways, we'll talk about the match. We got holds and counters, a PK to D'Angelo by Grimes from the apron. Grimes is then in control with kicks and chops before D'Angelo pulls his hair, hits a belly-to-belly suplex. D'Angelo stays in control for quite a while here, including a backbreaker, a suplex, until Grimes hits a Hurricane Rana that looked pretty nice. Running forearms by Grimes, but he misses a corner attack and takes another belly-to-belly overhead from D'Angelo. Moonsault crossbody, obviously, by Grimes at one point for a near fall. We get a leg trap overhead suplex that sends Grimes into the turnbuckle that looked good. Grimes then slips off the ropes, not intentionally, I don't think, and kind of does a take two really quickly at least. Hits a moonsault before a high cross body off the top for a 2 count. Grimes calls for the cave-in, but D'Angelo escapes to the floor, and Pete Dunne shows up, hits D'Angelo with the cricket bat as the ref is distracted.
Oh, come on, a cricket bat.
Yepper. And
that's so stupid.
So basically, I can't remember if Dunne put D'Angelo back in the ring. He probably did. Anyways,
be more stereotypical, please.
It's a cave-in from Grimes, and he wins the match in under 12 minutes. I thought it was a good match, and like I'm saying, if D'Angelo had a different character, I think I'd get behind him because I like suplexes and throws, and this guy has a whole lot of different ones. At the end of the day, I wish Grimes could have won clean, but the finish makes sense, right? It allows Dunne to get back on the show, so I guess maybe he's not on main roster yet.
I'm still on WWE's website. I'm looking at the alumni section. It's really funny. You saw Big Cass and Big Daddy V.
Nice. So it gets Dunne back on the show, gets him back involved with D'Angelo, and gets Grimes a title shot that I don't imagine he'll win, but it's a good matchup anyway. It should be a good match. So I thought a solid main event that I enjoyed, and I kind of like D'Angelo in ring at least.
Nice.
So then Braun is shown leaving the building with his suitcase, because that's what you got to do in NXT.
You have to have luggage, a championship, or a vehicle. And otherwise, you're dead.
He's asked about who his tag team partner will be, and he basically says he doesn't care. Legado drive up quickly. They get out looking like they're going to attack Braun Breaker here, but no, because who shows up to back up? Did you hear this?
Yes.
It's
so stupid.
Tommaso Ciampa.
Not like he lost the title to the guy.
So he stands with Braun, and Legado change their minds and leave as Braun and Ciampa sort of fist bump to end this week's show. So overall, honestly, not a terrible episode of NXT. It's nice to say that. They seem to cut back on the cartoonish stuff I hate, and the pace was less frantic than some weeks. Like, they felt like they weren't trying to get too much stuff in. The pace made sense to me. Really enjoyed the opener, enjoyed the main event. Nothing made me cringe or angry this week, but I don't think anything was amazing either. So I'm proud to say I can get this show up into the B range. I gave it a pretty solid, for them, B- this week. A vast improvement from last week and many weeks of this show. So kind of almost worth watching, I think, this week, actually. I did not hate anything about this show, so that's nice to say.
Nice.
All right, time for me to sip on Booster Juice and talk about, you're going to set up our Royal Rumble preview.
That is correct. So, we're going to preview and put in our predictions for Royal Rumble tonight. So there's actually not I noticed there's not a ton.
Well, they got two Rumble matches that are going to be an hour, right?
Yeah,
so there's 2 hours. So not surprising.
So Becky Lynch versus Doudrop. I took Becky Lynch because I think Becky's on a solid run. I don't think Doudrop is the one to take it from her.
There is no universe where Doudrop wins.
Right.
I will take Becky Lynch. We'll take Becky Lynch all day.
In what they're calling the It couple versus the Grit couple.
Gross.
Miz Maurice versus Edge and Phoenix. I was gonna pick Edge and Beth, aka the Grit couple, air quotes. But I don't like Beth, and since Edge won at day one, I feel like this is the heels win via shenanigans, and we set up a Mania rematch. That just seems so them. So
I really like your logic.
Miz Maurice.
But your logic is logical, and that doesn't apply in WWE?
No, that's not logical. That's them. That's me thinking that what they are going to do.
So I will take the Grit couple. I just think that they're determined to just keep Edge winning.
That's true. Well, he doesn't even have to take the loss.
That's true. But I think they'll win.
Well, also shenanigans. But anyways. And so I don't even know if this is going to be on the card, but I feel like it's something they'll throw on the kickoff or add last minute. So just in case that they do put it on, Usos Viking Raiders, because I know Viking Raiders did earn a title shot, and I assume it would be at the Rumble, even if it's just on the kickoff. So just in the event that it is on here, I picked Usos because in what universe are they losing to the Viking Raiders?
Wish I could disagree, but yeah, the Usos win that they're involved in an actual storyline, and the Viking Raiders are just kind of there. Unfortunately, because they're awesome.
Yeah. Next, Lesnar versus Lashley for the WWE title. I picked Lashley because get the title off of Lesnar. He has actually been better than usual lately. I've noticed he's actually seems to be putting in some effort and whatnot. But I don't really think he needs any more sustained title runs. I'm kind of fed up with that. And I don't really think Lashley needs another run either, but I prefer that to the alternative.
Wow.
And he can just drop it to someone. I feel like Lashley has a decent chance to win.
I kind of think Lashley wins, and then Brock might win the Rumble.
No.
I know you don't want that, but do I take...
feel like both of them have a decent chance of winning, to be honest.
I do too, and I usually don't pick against Lesnar. It's almost like the Charlotte rule I have. Okay, I'll take Lesnar just to...
All right.
But then I might hedge my bets and take him to win the Rumble still. Does that make sense?
You're just willing to be wrong either way?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
It's called hedging.
Interesting.
I get one at least.
So next, Seth Rollins for Roman Reigns for the Universal title. I really want to pick Rollins. I really do. I'll freak out if he wins because that'll be sick. But I think Roman deserves to lose at Mania. Not that he deserves to lose. I mean, he deserves to have a big...
On the biggest stage.
To put it over big, right? And I think there's still some work to be done for Rollins character-wise if they're going to set him up to win the title.
Yep.
I think he's still a little too heel, in my opinion, but I have noticed in these segments he definitely is less heelish and he's being cheered more. I think he'd be a solid pick to win the Rumble too, kind of like what your logic with Brock. And then they can shift him to babyface or even try anti-hero, dare I say.
Yeah, possibly.
But for now, it's Reigns, definitely Reigns, because Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite time for Reigns to lose. I'm not as confident as I have been, which is a compliment to Rollins, I think, but I will also take Roman Reigns.
I think Rollins is the best challenger he's had in a bit.
I just don't think it's time yet.
All right, women's Royal Rumble match. We'll do 3 picks each. Just to run down the participants quick.
Yep.
Carmella, Dana Brooke, Nikki Ash, Queen Zelina, Rhea Ripley, Tamina, Aaliyah, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Natalya, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Brie Bella, Lita, Nikki Bella, Kelly, Michelle McCool, Mickie James, Summer Rae, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Sasha Banks, and Sonya Deville.
All right.
So I went with my first pick, which is the one you pick like the most.
Yep.
Or like that you think will win the most.
So why don't we make it like this? For if your first pick gets it, you get 3 points. If your second pick 2, if your last pick 1. Okay. You know what I mean?
So hold on, let me make a note of that.
So we get 1 point for each. So you get rewarded if your first pick gets picked.
I think we've done that before, but so what second pick is what?
2 points. So 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So like reverse.
Right.
Third pick.
So who's your first pick? Let's go your first pick, then I'll take mine. We'll go back and forth.
Okay, so my first pick is Bianca Belair. I think that's a pretty
repeat,
safe one. Yeah. They haven't done one yet. I think she'd be a great choice to do so, and I think she's like then that could maybe
she's awesome.
Revitalize her a bit too.
I hope so, because they dropped the ball.
Then they could have her beat Becky instead.
Right.
Oh, you can redo that, yeah.
So I'm going to. I don't know if this is a stretch or not, but my first pick is going to be Bayley.
Bayley.
I think she comes back and she's a big name.
I put her in.
If she's ready to go, I
picked her for one of my surprise entrants.
Nice. So I'm going to take Bayley first. Who's your second choice?
My second pick, because I am still very bitter and I just suck it to them. My second pick is Shayna Baszler.
Okay, nice.
I'll never
way
not
to
pick
throw
her.
away that one. Good.
Yep, I don't care. I'll always pick her.
Well, you might suggest I'm throwing away my second pick too.
On the off chance I'm right, then haha.
Right. I'm gonna say Lita as my second pick.
Wow.
I feel like there's this one more run thing.
I have noticed that they're gonna pull a Goldberg.
Possibly.
Something like that. My third pick is kind of an odd one as well, kind of along the lines of Bayley's. I picked Sasha Banks.
Okay.
I feel like she might have a decent chance of winning. She just came back. Actually.
She did?
Did get confirmed as well. So
makes sense.
Yeah, so I picked her.
And I'll take, not to double up, but I do think she's possible. That's Belair. I'll take her for my third choice.
To me. Nice. All right. Some men's Rumble match. Participants are Donnie Knoxville of Jackass fame.
There you go. There's my winner. Done.
Right. Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Austin Theory, Sheamus, Damian Priest, AJ Styles, Big E, Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Sami Zayn, Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens, Omos, Randy Orton, Riddle, Chad Gable, Otis, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rick Boogs, and Ricochet. So for my first pick, I actually want to say honorable mention to Riddle. Because I think he has decent chances, but chances are we get an RK Bro feud for Mania. Honestly, like that just seems where they go.
It's about time.
So, but honorable mention to him. So my first pick, because I don't know, he's not confirmed yet, but I think there's a decent chances. I'm going with Rollins.
Okay.
I feel like they don't do repeat winners a lot, but a decent amount of time has passed. Like it's been a few years now since he last won.
Yep.
And I feel like it would honestly be a good time for him, and he's a credible guy too. So
for
I think
sure.
all adds up for a solid bet.
I'll take Lesnar just because Lesnar, and I'm hedging.
I hate you so much.
If he loses the title, he's one of the few remaining entrants and kills everyone. And then he gets a main event shot at Mania,
then he gets sent to death row.
So, and he's been good on the mic from what I understand. So
compared to his shrieks,
him with the briefcase might be funny.
Okay, so my second pick is Just because I feel like there's a decent chance, although he's kind of slid down a lot. I'm gonna go with Big E. He
Okay.
would have been my first pick, but I'm not as keen on that anymore.
Right. Mine, I'm stretching a bit for this one just because I think that Vince likes him. So I'm going to say Austin Theory.
And I actually took Austin Theory for my
It's
third
like his
pick.
coming out, and we get a heel with the briefcase, which is better, right? So
So I took Theory for
That's
my
your
third
third?
pick. So who's your last one?
my last one. So I'm not going to take Big E because you did. I'll go a little bit weird and say Kevin Owens just because I want him
He
to.
was one of
And
my
he's in a
kind of
story right
outside
now, right?
bets, right? So that's what I was thinking. Like, as if Rollins were to win now, Owens would be a solid bet. But I think Rollins should probably win more.
So I'll take
And
a shot with
then
Owens.
I'm thinking for both women's and men's, we'll get some surprise entrants because why not?
Yeah.
I actually haven't finished mine because I just kind of added last minute to fully think it through so we can kind of talk about this one more. But so far, all I got for men's is first Bray Wyatt. I think there's a decent chance he comes back.
Really?
Because people are saying like AEW people went on. That's all kind of
I don't think
far-fetched. I
that's
think
happening.
Bray Wyatt has at least decent chances, right? Like,
The only AEW person I could see possibly is Jericho.
okay, do you want to put him in anywhere?
Sure.
I can't think of any.
Just to go crazy, I'll take Jericho.
1, 2, 3.
Sure.
Which one?
Jericho, I'll put as my third. So
Third?
Lesnar's my first because he's
First
not.
surprise entrance?
Yeah, he's not scheduled, right?
That's true.
He's not listed, so that counts as a surprise to me.
Oh, wait, I can put in Rollins.
Yep.
Okay, I'll put in Rollins as my second because I already put Bray.
So I'll take Lesnar, Jericho, and Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker.
Easily.
I'll put that in too. That's a pretty safe bet. Or actually, no, you take Breaker, and since you took him, I'll take LA Knight.
That is also a solid pick.
Gotta get some NXT representation, right? Okay, and then
Women?
so for women's, I've already thought Bailey and Ronda Rousey.
Yes, for sure, those two as well.
So-
Rousey, I'll take Bailey first.
Okay, so hold on. Bailey. Then where do you want Rousey? Third or second?
Trying to think of who my other one's going to be. Probably somebody from NXT. I'll take Gonzalez second.
Ooh, nice.
Rousey
I'll
third.
take her as well after. It's pretty good. Or
So
actually, no, just to differentiate again, but I think it's also likely one. I'll take EO actually,
that's probably smart.
just
as
so
well.
we have a bit of differentiation, but I think also decent chances.
This is weird because it's one of the pay-per-views I'm least confident in my picks. Usually, like, despite not watching main roster, it's like very easy, and
Yeah.
I'm like 80 to
Rumble
90%
is fun
right.
though, because it's very unpredictable.
Yep, should be fun.
Yep. And that is it.
All right, so we'll move into the last segment. Jack's going to update us on the world of wrestling action figures in a segment called Figuring It Out with Jack.
So they kind of revealed a decent amount of stuff throughout the week. I'll go from bottom to top, because basics are lame.
Poor basics.
They suck.
It's been, I'm glad there's
Execution's
something. It's
bad and
been
there's
light
flat,
the last little while.
So it includes, basic 129, we got images for that. We got Carmella in like the red gear kind of current look.
Right.
Stupid. I don't care about that.
And Corey Graves coming back to wrestle. They could be a mixed tag.
They could actually, I forgot.
Take
Then
on the
there's
Grit
Roman
couple.
Reigns, which I think is like, these are the kind of basics I do kind of like though, because it's a promo gear Reigns with a painted on shirt. Like,
Nice.
obviously I think the cloth shirts are good because like whenever you have the painted on shirt, right, you're kind of limited to the torso, so it looks like it's like tucked in his pants or
Right.
something. But I do like that at least because like you don't want a promo attire Roman Reigns for an elite, right? You want like a ring gear one. So I think that's at least like a good use of a basic slot.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. And speaking of, there's also a Miz in a suit. He doesn't come with sunglasses, which makes him look a little weird, but I think still, like, that's a good use of a basic slot, right? Because,
I guess.
like, I mean...
Doesn't
I
need
don't-
to move a lot for
Right, exactly.
in
I
a
don't think
suit.
the articulation's great, so then I think that's a good way to get promo gear in, if it's not, like, removable gear.
Right.
There's a black and gold Dominic Mysterio, which the ring gear itself looks better than I thought. It's pretty, like, my thing with the basics
Looks
mainly
like
is,
Sammy Guevara.
it looks pretty good, but like a lot of the times with the basics, especially like the past few years, they're so flat. Like there's no, other than like paint details, there's no depth to them. You know, like the Damien,
Texture.
Yeah, right? And like the Damien Priest elite I got, like there's so much like sculpting and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's
And,
nice.
it's friggin' amazing. But then you look at like these basics and like they're just so flat, like plain, like there's no texture to them. Like you
Right.
said, like the new Elite Charlotte, it honestly looks like really flat, like almost like a basic. Even it's
Right.
just like there's nothing to it. And finally, we did get Noam Dar, so that's pretty nice.
Nice.
He looks weird with the long hair,
You've
but
become a fan of him.
it's a Noam Dar. Yeah, I did get
He
some
is
Noam
enjoyable,
Dar
man.
tires on 2K, so I did play. I've been playing some Noam Dar.
He's fun.
Yeah, that's probably the only time I'm excited for a basic, other than the Swerve Scott that I got.
Right.
Because, never mind. Although the difference is, I feel like this won't be Dar's only figure, so that's good. And then the Chase variant is another promo gear reigns, but this time with like blue pants and a white shirt, so that's cool.
Weird.
Yeah, I wish they did the cloth white shirt, because I think the white shirts are kind of an interesting look for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Then we got more images for Elite 93. The most interesting one for me is, of course, the new Seth Rollins from Mania. And he does have the rubber jacket, but they actually did show images where it's like this new rubber, and so you can actually bend his arms.
Actually get it off of him? Oh, nice.
And yeah, like it's like he's posable in the jacket. 'Cause remember he got me the Elite Balor with the jacket, and it's just the least movable thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yep.
And I wish they included a long hair head for him, because he's just got the man bun head, which it looks solid, but he didn't even wear a man bun at Mania.
Oh my goodness, details.
Stupid, but I really like the gear. I'll probably switch the head off on if I want, because I mean I think it's a really nice gear. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I think from the same show and same match, Cesaro, he's got a nice cloth jacket and stuff, and now they're all double jointed elbows, so I can get a double jointed elbow Seth Rollins.
Exciting.
It is. And Cesaro's pretty nice. So I only have like one Elite Cesaro, and it's like kind of old. I think it's Elite 37, so it's pretty old. T-Bar, and so of course Rollins only gets one man bun head, but T-Bar gets a mask and no mask head.
Of course,
so
he
I
is.
think
He's a big star.
It's even reused, but so that's kind of cool for him. Dijakovic, Raquel Gonzalez, that one's actually pretty nice, I think.
Yeah, that looks good.
And then we got a loincloth cross, which just gross.
Nice.
Like they did a good job on it, but gross.
Right.
And then also Ricky's Dragon Steamboat in white tights, which I think is pretty nice. And he's got the TV title from WCW, which is nice.
Cool.
And then there's a yellow tights version for the
Chase.
Chase variant. And I think the head looks less weird. I think in those other images they showed he looked really weird, but I think now he looks good. And then also Ultimate Edition 12 images. So there's Alexa Bliss from her current gimmick.
Gross.
You can like change out the shirt and whatever for stuff, and so she looks fine. But what I really like is the new Fiend. It is from Mania 37, so he's got like the different mask and stuff. I think the non-tongue face looks really cool.
Yep.
And then there's this one picture with the tongue out face that looks kind of funny to me, but I think it looks really cool. If that's his last figure ever, that's a nice one to go out on, and I definitely want that one.
Cool.
And that is it.
Nice. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of episode 80. Decent chance we'll do a Royal Rumble review, right? Since it's a Saturday show, we could maybe
that'll
do
be
it
fun
tomorrow.
to talk about. Yeah, actually.
Could be. Yeah.
Royal Rumble. I'm actually kind of excited. I've been waiting all month. It was weird. It kind of snuck up on me, you know. The month kind of felt long, but then now it's like, oh my god, almost done. So
yeah, we'll probably come back down here and talk about that in the next day or two. And then we'll be back for sure on Saturday.
We're actually not doing anything Monday either, so if we happen to wait till then.
Because I can't imagine I'm going to work unless I miraculously recover. I'm starting to struggle.
And it's a culminating day still, right? So
I'm starting to struggle right now. I got to go stand up and move around a little bit and see what I can do. But anyways, thanks for joining us, taking some time out of your week to listen to us talk about wrestling. Check out, keep an eye out for our Royal Rumble review, and definitely we'll be back here next Saturday with episode 81. We'll see you all then, and until then, take care.